Are we liking the Gods Knights so far? Because I'm a huge fan. I'm just going to say that. I think the Gods Knights are a phenomenal villain group. This was kind of their debut chapter. Why is this not loading? Hello? Hello, hello, hello? I think shit's going slow because I'm trying to upload my chapter review at the same time. Hold on, I can't see chat. Give me a second. Let me try closing a couple tabs. All right. All right. Let's get stream likes up to 100 real quick. It's not 2 points. The stream started at 4. Well, for what do you call? Central. 5 EST. Ignorant Weed, thanks for the 2. Gunkko has aura. Yeah, Gunkko was phenomenal this chapter. I think Gunkko suffered for having to be used to, like, having to use Loki as a punching bag to begin with, because Loki's just a damage tank. So Gunkko hit him with a whole shit ton of attacks, and it wasn't clear exactly what her arrow fruit could do. So I just didn't view her as that threatening to begin with. But now that it looks like her arrow fruit is basically like, it's almost like an improved version of Kuma's fruit. What are you guys talking about? The stream started at 5. It was 02 when I joined. That's a delay. That's a stream delay. Stream delay is not on me. Stream delay is on internet connection. What the hell? No, come on. Stream delay is not on me. That's not on me. What? Okay. All right. Let the honest people of chat tell me. What time was it legitimately that the stream began for you all? No memes, no joking. Tell me what the honest time, chat. Like, what was the honest time? Because for me, I hit start at 4. Start at 5:02. Is everyone consistent with this? There's no way. All right, let's take a look. Hold on. There's a way I can view this and review it. Hold on. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. No, shit. It does look like the first viewers are in the first minute. Hold on. I have instant replay. Let's see. Live 4:54. Okay. See? All right. Look. You can see this. Here we go. All right. Live for 5. You see this right here? Live for 5 minutes and 12 seconds. 13 seconds. So at most, you can say this is factual. This tells me how long I've been live. This is not doctored. This is nothing. This is how long I've been live. So at most, I'm seeing 5:06 p.m. right now. I will give you guys 1 point. 1 point. But this is not debatable. This is not debatable. This is how long I've been live. No debate there. If you want a point, I will give you guys 1 point. 1 point. It's recorded. It's set right there. I apologize if for some of you the delay took a little bit longer, but the official stream time was 1 minute behind. So I'll give you guys 1 minute behind. So let's see where we're at. Let's see where we're at. It does bring you guys to 1:45, which is pretty good. I still view it as myself being on time because I cannot control the slowness of my computer. But we're going by the official record. I'll give you guys the point. You're 5 points away from the next penalty. We'll revisit this partway through the stream to see if you guys want to cash in this stream. But my guess is that you guys probably want to wait. So we'll see. All right, continuing on. Oh, shit. Focusing on the chapter. Oh, also, I want to give a heads up. So, do I talk about this now? I don't know if I talk about this now. How do I say this? The NBA playoffs are going to start tomorrow. I want to do a little NBA preview. We might do that at the end of this stream. So I might give a little heads up for that. So if you guys want to stick around for the end of the stream, so we're going to stream at least from 5 p.m. EST to 7 p.m. EST. If you want to stream, or if you want to stick around till post 7 p.m. EST, we'll cover a little bit of the NBA playoffs. Ender Ayanami, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 31 months. First fraud of C isn't helmsman. He's a general laborer. Not replacing Chumper with Law was a mistake. All Nico Snorbin does is cry and sleep. 21 chapters and all Bumslop has done is be an embarrassment. His arc BTW. All right, so I think that this is all good. I think that everything that just happened here is good. Because to me, this is the Straw Hats getting set up to improve by the end of the arc. I like this a lot. I think that this basically means the Straw Hats, even as a Yonko crew, don't cut it against the Gods Knights. The Gods Knights are luckily leaving, and they will be coming back later. When Luffy lost to Kaido in Act 1, right? We knew what was coming next. What happened? Someone tell me what Luffy did after he lost to Kaido in Act 1. Luke Brown says, hair looks good today, bro. Thank you. It's coming together. When Luffy lost to Kaido in round 1, the next thing that happened was Luffy had to train. It's good. Losing is good. Losing in fiction in One Piece is good. It generally means that there's room to grow. Do you guys realize this is fucking insane? Jinbei, Brook, Robin, Chopper, Frankie, Usopp. These characters are exactly the same strength today, right before the final war. Exactly the same strength as they were at fucking Fishman Island. Do you guys realize that? Exactly the same strength. No power-ups, no improvement, no trading, jack shit. What's Chopper's best form today? And what was it back at Fishman Island? What's Brook's best ability today? Like, what has Brook done from now through Fishman Island that has been an improvement? Jack shit. What's Frankie's full fucking artillery, his full armory that he has right now? It's the same as fucking Fishman Island. He beat Sasaki using the same shit he beat fucking the Ikaros with. Shogun, Coup de Vent, Radical Beam. Same bullshit. They're all the same. Robin got a power-up? No. It was implied that she already could do that shit. She just didn't have to until Black Maria because all of her fights until then were a breeze. Like, she had been holding back things that she could do, like the Fishman Karate Slap. Demonio Flourish, she didn't have to break out until then. Those have not been established to be new things that she couldn't already do, right? Zoro, Sanji, they had to develop new abilities in Wano, right? Those are abilities that we know they didn't have beforehand. He got Enma. He got King of Hell mode, right? Like he advanced Conqueror's Haki. Sanji unlocked Germa Exoskeleton. He got Ifrit Janbe. Luffy, obviously, advanced Armament, advanced Observation, advanced Conqueror's Haki, Devil Fruit Awakening. All things that they awakened, right? The other Strahds didn't have a real fight from Fishman Island to fucking Wano. They have not had to improve. This is good. Nami is the only one that actually got a clear power-up in that she didn't have this before, but she has this now, which is Zeus. Usopp, on paper, got a power-up, which is Observation Haki, but he can't use it. He can't use it at will. This arc, he's going to need to learn how to use it. This stuff is all really good, because we've had so little Strahd focus for so long, that now that the Strahds have actually been put in a situation where they've fallen short, they're finally going to have to improve from their Fishman Island selves. That is good. That is good news. Hoop says Usopp got Haki. Yeah, can he use it? Can he use it? That's like saying Luffy got Haki because he saw Mihawk's attack coming in Marineford. He can't use Observation Haki at will. He couldn't use Observation Haki at will. He had to actually learn how to use it, right? This is the best setup possible for the Strahds. Oda having all of the mid and lower tier Straw Hats on the back foot this early in the arc, this sets them up to get better. Because right now, they're not a Pirate King level crew. They're just not. They're comfortable against other Yonko crews. Like, I would take the Straw Hats against, obviously, the Beast Pirates, definitely the Big Mom Pirates, definitely the fucking Blackbeard Pirates right now. But it's clear that the God's Knights are being introduced as a step up, right? The standard God's Knight is stronger than a standard Yonko officer, for sure, by leaps and bounds. Frank says, duh, he can use it. You think Usopp can just turn on Observation Haki at will whenever he wants? You think Usopp has mastered Observation Haki? Can you please, someone find me the panel of Usopp using Observation Haki since Dressrosa? Someone show me the panel of Usopp even knowing what the fuck Observation Haki is. Behenort, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 18 months. Thank you for the long time support. It's always great to see you. Gunkko is probably my favorite God's Knight right now. She's an aura farmer. She clapped half the crew. She provides lots of theory fuel and interesting subtext, but the rest of the God's Knights are also really good. Yeah, I think all three are great so far. Gunkko is the best. Let's do some quick character rankings. She clapped half the crew. Yeah, that was sick. Just, I don't remember the last time seeing so many Straw Hats just packed up that quickly by a character that's not even, she's just a God's Knight, right? She's not a super special God's Knight as far as we can tell. She's not a Gorosei or an Admiral or something. This is just a standard God's Knights member, and she packed up half the crew. That is really fucking cool. And she had my favorite quote of the chapter. I really like the quote that she had about... I'm going to read this again. Here we go. I like this quote quite a bit. Where is it? Where'd she say it? Oh. The world was meant to simply vanish one day. That's how it was supposed to go. However, some among the humans realized what lay in store. Blah, blah, blah. Once it starts, it cannot be undone. I like that. I like that. It adds just the idea that one day, if Vegapunk and Clover and Olvia and all, if not for all of their efforts, it's entirely possible that literally Imu could have just quietly evaporated the planet one day, right? That could have happened, but now people can prepare. That's so cool. I just like how she put everything into context. Really cool character, but yeah, Sommers, love his personality. Killing him, we haven't gotten too much of his personality yet, but the simple fact, I think that this chapter just did a good job establishing that it's not just his ability that's broken, he's a solid individual fighter himself. Steve Strad Shako, thanks for being a member for 30 months. Haven't been able to tune in for a bit. Hope you've been well. Hope you've been well. Hope life's been going well. Yeah, I've been good. Main thing, switched departments. That's pretty much the only primary development, and One Piece has been really good as of late. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Uchek, thanks for being a Pirate King to your member for 31 months. As much as I love the story as a whole, these Straw Hat fight chapters are my bread and butter. Yeah, I mean, I like the Straw Hat fight chapters, especially when the developments are interesting. I feel like Gunkko's fighting style it's low-key one of the smoothest and coolest fighting styles we've ever seen in One Piece. Right? Like, it feels like a jacked up oh shit. I've talked about like the potential Gunkko Kuma connections. Gunkko's fruit feels like a jacked up version of the paw fruit, right? It feels like the redirection of everything, but it's just so much more fluid the way that everything works. Maybe the paw fruit's still better. I don't know. It's just the arrow fruit feels very, very similar. Like you're kind of like the paw fruit and the arrow fruit are a lot about dictating the direction of things, right? Like Kuma can send people wherever he wants. He can deflect attacks wherever he wants. Gunkko's fruit is very, very similar. I just feel like there's an even more added element of control. I like that. Her fighting style is just so sick. Like, the arrows can be used as, like, ropes to capture people. It can be used to send people in certain directions. She can ride the attacks. She can redirect attacks. She can just... it's just so... It's all so fluid the way that... This is low-key one of Oda's best little choreographed fight scenes, I think. This was just sick. Gunkko surfing the arrow towards Usopp while capturing Colin with an arrow, while redirecting Brook and Jinbei's attacks, and leading into kicking Nami, and then taking out Usopp. That is one of the coolest choreographed little scenes in... I don't always think One Piece has the best fight choreography, but when Oda buckles down to really do it, I think he's got some really cool choreography. El Aichi Muhammad, thanks for the 10. Hey Morge, I like the Ginny clone theory, but what if instead she's from House Nerona and only the Gorsei and the Neronas have regeneration? She's not a saint because she's something more than a saint. That would be interesting. I don't know. Like, Gunkko's very hard to tell. Maybe we're reading too much into the goggles. Maybe we're reading too much into the different colored eyes and Oda kind of hiding some of her appearance. She is dropping a lot of important quotes throughout the story. The New World music that she listens to, there just seems like there's some added depth that Oda is approaching writing Gunkko's character with, even compared to the other Gods Knights. So I'm very curious to see where all that goes. Elfren, thanks for the 2. Hyped to see how the Monster Trio reacts to all this. One of the best moves Oda could have done is keeping the Monster Trio out of this. The Monster Trio are now too strong, such that you need to be a legitimate top tier for them to... For Zoro and Sanji to be outmatched, it needs to be a legitimate top tier, right? And for Luffy to be outmatched, it needs to be legitimately, like... I don't think there's any opponent in the world right now that you could drop in front of Luffy that Luffy wouldn't be able to at least hold his own against, you know? So keeping the Monster Trio away, I think it's just a really smart move because there's just so much more tension when they're not around. And at the end of the day, I do think the Monster Trio would find a way to deal with these 3 Gods Knights. There would still be a challenge, but I think that Luffy, Zoro, Sanji would negate a lot of this. Like, I think once Luffy's... Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Luffy, Zoro, Sanji get up there in the next couple chapters and are able to deal with this. But I think that would be... Or the Gods Knights even deal with them. I don't think that would happen, though. But I think it's a good move by Oda to just keep them away from the fray. And I feel like... Assuming at the end of the arc, the Gods Knights return, and this time with even more Gods Knights, I think that's when we'll get a nice matchup spread for the Straw Hats, with maybe Luffy's or Sanji also getting some opponents. We'll see. Arth DeWare says, do you think we'll get a second time skip this arc? I personally feel like it might... I think it'll be a longer storyline, not in terms of chapter count necessarily, but in terms of just story length. Like, in story length, right? Like Wano. I think it'll be a little bit before the God's Knights return. Like, I don't think they're coming back tomorrow, for example. So I think it'll be a little bit before the God's Knights return. Maybe anything from a few days to a week or two. I think anything within that range. I think that's also a good, and I think that gives the Straw Hats time to prepare, as well as the Elbaf Giants time to prepare, because I think a developing theme for this storyline will be the Elbaf Giants basically learning how to be warriors again, because they just got fucking embarrassed by one God's Knight, right? Like, let's make no mistake. There are 3 God's Knights there, but the entire island would be fucked by just killing him. You could remove Gunkko and Sommers. Gunkko and Sommers are very useful to capturing the kids, but they could have literally just airdropped killing him onto the island, and killing him would have fucked up everybody. Like, it's taking the entire forces of Elbaf plus the Straw Hats plus Skopper Gaban right now to turn back the tide on all these monsters. If they didn't have the Straw Hats and Skopper Gaban and shit, they're fucking lucky that Dorian Brogy even happened to return instead of fighting at Little Garden. You know what I mean? Like, if this happened like a month ago or like 2 months ago or something like that. Well, I don't know exactly when Dorian Brogy showed up here, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they're just, maybe they'd have to release Loki to save their asses or something if that were the case. But the general populace of Elbaf looks like it would have lost to just killing him by himself, right? That's what it's looking like. So I do think that there will be a bit of a storyline of the Elbaf warriors having to get back on their feet. And I do think that's going to coincide with a lot of the Straw Hats having to get stronger as well. That's going to be something I go in depth on in next Tuesday's video, because it's been a long time coming, and I think a lot of traces are there for that being one of the defining ideas of Elbaf. So I think the Straw Hats are going to improve over the course of this arc before the final war. So I don't think it'll be a time skip necessarily, unless maybe time somehow does work differently on Elbaf, but it's still just, I think it doesn't make sense. Like, we've seen so many glimpses of characters, it doesn't really make sense at this point for time to flow differently on Elbaf unless I'm missing something. Like, we even see Rox and Loki's interaction, and that lines up time-wise. But I do think that in Elbaf, yeah, just time-wise, we could be here for a little bit of a stint. More than the usual, like, one-day affair. Like, most New World arcs so far, Fishman Island was a day, Punk Hazard was a day, Dressrosa was a day, Whole Cake Island was 2 days, right? Egghead was 2 days. Wano was the only one where we're there for a little bit. I think Elbaf will be similar. I don't think Elbaf will be as many chapters as Wano. I don't think anywhere close, because we're not dealing with as many characters, side characters, and plot threads, right? And as much setup. Elbaf seems like a simpler storyline. But it's kind of like Alabasta is in story, like in narrative, one of the longest One Piece arcs. Alabasta is an arc that takes place over several days. It's just not reflected in the chapter count, right? Alabasta in story is much longer than Dressrosa in story. In terms of chapter count, Alabasta is much shorter than Dressrosa. I think Elbaf will be, just based on the number of characters we have, which is not that many, based on the fact that we are 20 chapters in now. We're 20 chapters into Elbaf as of right now, and we've hit basically the first big obstacle, potentially the low point of the arc, which is the God's Knights swooping in and doing all this shit. We're actually moving along the Elbaf storyline fairly quickly in terms of narrative structure. So I could still see Elbaf concluding in 70, like by chapter 1200. But I'm saying, like, in story, I could see it being like a week, like a few days to a week of downtime or something like that, for the protagonist to regroup. And then during that time, we also probably will get like Loki's backstory and things like that. Just fill out some of the missing pieces. Maybe we learn about the Herald situation. Yeah, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Ground Pound, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 15 months. You've mentioned how you're confused why Robin hasn't done anything to stop the kids. I'm confused as to why you think Robin's Devil Fruit would stop the kids. Wouldn't she just be hurt by the thorns? I assume that Robin doesn't love those kids, so I thought she'd be fine. Or I thought Robin could pop the kids out of the ground, like kind of like reverse whack-a-mole style. However, having sat back, and I think I was wrong about that. I think Oda I think there's legitimate reasons for why it's not easy to stop those kids. When I say Robin doesn't care about those kids, the thorns hurt people that love you, right? I'm like, why does Robin love these fucking kids? She just fucking met him. But it's whatever. Robin's a kind-hearted person. Makes sense. What was I saying? I personally think, and I did a tweet about this as well, I think Robin versus Sommers is going to be a thing. I know a lot of people are saying Robin is not strong enough to take on Sommers. That's totally fine. Maybe it's Robin and Sanji or something. But Robin and Sommers, Oda is doing something there. Robin's fruit directly countered by Sommers' fruit. Robin's fruit, flower fruit versus Sommers' thorn fruit. And this entire scenario basically is the ultimate personal motivation for Robin versus Sommers, right? Sommers literally beating down Robin's father figure. Not father figure, but like her long-lost loved friend, basically, who gave her hope for life, right? In front of her. I think that is set up for Robin to basically be on the other end and having to protect Saul or take on Sommers towards the end. If you don't think Robin can do it herself, that's totally fine. Team battles are a thing in One Piece, but I do think we will be seeing that. And if you wait for next Tuesday's video, I break down why there is some clear setup, in my opinion, for Robin's next step in terms of growing, right? Like, Robin obviously right now should be no match for Sommers. I think that there are certain things that could happen by the end of Elbaf that would fix that sort of matchup problem that she would have against Sommers. Justin Holland, thanks for being a Pirate King to your member for 20 months, man. Good to see you. Nami step up despite Gunkko throwing the group off like you foresaw. Proof of Strahd's training and improvement. Luffy could use advice from Gaban for unlocking his full potential. And 4 is Gunkko equals Harold's voice. Let's take a quick look at who got what right, because you just reminded me. Let's take a look at the predictions thread from before. Let's take a look at the predictions thread from 1146. Hold on. Where's 1146 predictions? There we go. Give me a second here. All right, who got what right? Let's take a look. Didn't see this. Gunkko kidnaps Colin, so Monte... I'll give it to Monte, because it's not confirmed that she kidnapped Colin, but it basically... She did quite a bit. Nothing here. Shamrock talks with Garling. Justin, I don't think I can give this to you, because Nami doesn't actually hit Gunkko. Dream Lightning activates... This didn't happen. Yes, this happened. Dick So Small. Where's Dick So Small? Dick So Small, I pissed on my balls. This didn't happen. Okay, so we got 2 people correct. Monte and Dick So Small. Monte and Dick So Small, would you please stand up? Also, I want to quickly do... We're going to do some favorite character ranking. Characters in Elbaf ranking rearrangement. We'll do that in a second. Is Monte here? Is Dick So Small, I piss on my balls in here? Let's take a quick look. Participants. I can't see all the participants here. Duck20, thanks for the 2. A lot of Fate themes popping up recently. Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it's in this arc is also gonna come down to a little bit of examining like Luffy's fate as Nika and what he is supposed to be for the world, because the mural is obviously talking a lot about the potential fate that the world is heading towards and the role that Nika is supposed to play. The Giants are talking a lot about like the fate of what Nika is supposed to be, what will happen when the third world comes to an end. Is Nika going to be the destroyer, the liberator, whatever? I think a lot of this arc is going to be, for Luffy's end of things, I think a lot of it is going to be understanding, him having to find out what his supposed role is, and then there's a myriad of options in terms of what direction Luffy chooses to go in terms of how he approaches this. Does he care? Does he not care? Luffy never likes having a set route or someone else setting out a route for him. So I think that's an interesting direction that we could get to contend with for Luffy's character. Gunkko, also being a very fate-centric character, I fucking love that because it reflects her fruit ability. Her fruit ability is like, once I set these arrows, right, they can't be changed. Fate can't be redirected or averted or fucked with, right? So Gunkko being the one to talk about fate, or this was what was supposed to happen, but now this has happened instead. I love that being a part of her character. I want to see where this is all going for her character. I would love for it to be a Ginny clone or something like I talked about in previous videos. But if she genuinely is like I want to find out what is the situation. Why is she's not called a saint like the rest of them? What is Oda doing with her character that is so different from the rest of the Gods Knights? Why is she interested in the song New World and everything like that? What is he doing with this character? Because it is very fate-centric. Teptio Treviso, thanks for being a member thanks for joining as a member. Thanks a lot. Is Dick so small here? Is Dick so small I piss on my balls here? And Ernami says the Gunkko clone, the Ginny clone theory works so well. I'll be disappointed if it isn't the case, though. I mean, I think it's a really, really fitting theory. I'm not the first person to ever say, hey, this might be a Ginny clone, but I do think that theory puts forward a lot of reasons that other people have not put forward. Because for me, that was like an out there theory. But then when I started like entertaining it as I was sort of starting to write the video, because when I started writing that video, the video is actually my belief. If you watch streams, like one of my beliefs was that Ginny was a Revolutionary Army betrayer. So I started writing the video about why Ginny's a Revolutionary Army betrayer. And then I was like, but some things just don't really add up here. So then the video sort of shifted to being like, okay, she might be a Revolutionary Army betrayer, but it could also actually make sense the more I think about it that she could be a clone. But then as I started writing the clone section of the video, I started coming up with a lot of reasons that I was like, wait, but then this would always also fit, and then this would fit, and then this would fit, and this would fit, and this would fit. And then by the end of the video, I had so many reasons that I was like, this actually makes way more sense than her being a Revolutionary Army traitor. And so then I shifted the whole video to basically being like, no, the Ginny clone theory actually makes a lot of sense. The reason I initially dismissed it when people brought it up was because the reasoning seemed too shallow. Like, I think the moment Gunkko was introduced, people were like, that might be Ginny's clone because her hairstyle is somewhat different. And I was like, I guess vaguely similar. Yeah, it's somewhat similar. Like, it could be. But it was just like the hairstyle is similar and her eyes are a weird color. So maybe she's Ginny's clone. And maybe Shamrock is like Bonnie's father or something, right? So at first I thought that was too shallow. But then once I started entertaining it, and then a lot of actual thematic and character reasons and little bits of foreshadowing started clicking for me, and I started putting the reasons that I thought, I was just like, wait, this actually makes a lot of sense. So I'm a big fan of the Ginny clone theory now because it's a theory that I was initially averse to, but then I felt like so many points that I was like started to click together for me that I started to shift my mind towards like, wait, that could actually make sense. So to me, that's probably a very strong idea just because if I initially didn't even want to believe it, but then it just now started to feel almost inevitable. I don't know. I think that there's something there. Oh, shit. Oh, my God. 02657, what's going on? Holy shit. One of the goats of the stream has returned. Holy shit. You like this chapter, man? You must have really liked this chapter. What the fuck? 50 memberships. I love this chapter. I'm glad to see you did. 02657, thank you so much. Memberships incoming. Long live Crocomom. Oh my god, this is too... Everybody in stream, please say big thanks to 02657. I'm sure a shit ton of you just got... Like a lot of you just got memberships thanks to him. A good, like... Over 10% of the stream just got memberships thanks to 02657. Everyone just shouts, use your emotes. You just got emotes and everything. Shouts in the chat to him. Yeah, just everybody show some celebrations. Show some love for 02657 because this is huge. I can't list out everybody who's got to say thank you, but if you just got a membership from 02657, say thanks. Obviously from my end, thanks so much, man, for the support. Thanks for often coming through and doing these huge membership bombs like that. I obviously really, really appreciate it. And everybody in stream really, really appreciates it. Yeah. If you just became a member, I suggest going out to check out the Morgecast, which you now have access to. It's my weekly podcast. You get access to all of them. They accompany every video. So if you want to check out this Tuesday's Morgecast, make sure to check that out as well. Yeah, but everyone, just big shouts to 02657. Damn. Samuel Hawks, thanks for the 5. Maybe Harold wanted to avoid giants being used by the world government and told Loki before he died. Now he's trying to dismantle/destroy Elbaf so that they're not exploited. I think that that's actually a really interesting theory because I didn't, I don't believe that, like, I was trying to reconcile this. People were saying that Harold has to be a traitor, which is very possible because it just seemed like there was something fishy going on, right? So maybe Harold being a traitor. It seems like it's believable on the surface, but then on the flip side, it was like just throughout One Piece, the ideals of trying to value things like peace, trade, education, civilization, things like that, that has always been implied to be really good for a nation, right? It was also implied that the way Elbaf was before was fundamentally flawed. Like Saul used to say that he would never go to Elbaf, or he didn't like the giants of Elbaf, like during Robin's flashback, because he viewed them as savage barbarians, whereas like other giants are more, they're more civilized, they're less peaceful, they're not like all war-loving characters, right? Elbaf seems to have improved under Harold's rule. They have a fucking school. They've got their library. Like, those are all changes that he made that are positive. The downside is that it did weaken them because he basically made it so that they have no military at the end of the day, right? So it was a trade-off because I don't think it's ever implied that a country should never have any sort of strength, but the overall values that he instilled in Elbaf do seem to be positive, and that seems to be consistent with a lot of the ideas of what nations should value in One Piece. So that was why I was always like, Harold being a truly bad guy and like a traitor that helps the world government, it seems strange because I just don't know what Oda would be going for thematically there. It's like, get this. The evil King Harold, he made them go to school and he made the island educated and peaceful. The worst villain in One Piece. What a nasty king. His evil plan was to build a society of civilized, peaceful, kind people. Truly, Orochi 2.0. That's just not what it seems like. If anything, Elbaf today literally seems like the best island in One Piece to live at. Because other islands have all sorts of shit going on. Elbaf doesn't, right? Do you see how bad fucking Wano was? Do you see what was going on in Dressrosa with Doflamingo's bullshit? Do you see what's going on with Fishman Island where they have to fucking live underwater and all that shit? Like, Elbaf seemed really fucking good. It seemed like an actual magical paradise. There didn't seem to be anything bad about it. The only problem is that they are not as strong as they once were and therefore are vulnerable. But it didn't seem like to me like some evil plot by Harold. So that was what was confusing. My feeling right now is that the Harold situation might be complicated. It's possible that the world government may have done something to try and like subjugate him and like make some sort of deal with him or something like that. And then Harold's ploy was essentially like, okay, if they want me to, if they are hell bent on turning Elbaf into a nation of like a private army nation for them, well, I'm going to get the last laugh because I'm going to make sure that their private army of like unbeatable warriors is going to be neutered to hell, right? I personally feel like that's the direction the story might have gone. I don't know. I feel like that might have been what happened. Like Harold made a choice to save the people of Elbaf by basically making them useless to the people of the world government and thereby also bettering the island. That's my personal running theory. Maybe fucking Harold is terrible. We'll find out. 02657 with a cry to the people. Thanks for the 2, man. Get those stream likes up. You guys heard it here first. 02657 said it. I appreciate the stream support, obviously. Get those stream likes up. If you got a membership, definitely like the stream. If you got a membership from 02657, definitely like the stream on behalf of him. Yeah, thanks as usual, man. I really do appreciate it. JP, thank you for the 20. I definitely think that the Gods Knights only got the Abyss plus regen powers recently. The Brink of War led Imu to extend the system to the Gods Knights. Maybe Garling himself advocated for it to Imu as his first move as a new Gorosei. That's an interesting idea, and but because it really seemed at first like, okay, only the Gorosei would make sense as having that because the Gorosei are immortal. But we just know too little about the Gods Knights to know if they had this ability beforehand or not. Because if the God's Knights always had this, then how did Garling age? Right? Because the one thing we know about the Gorosei, like we saw Garling's age at God Valley. That's actually a very interesting point, JP, because now I think about it, we saw Garling in God Valley, and he looked young, and we saw Garling today, and he looked old, right? Which means that time did affect him, right? So that would mean that during that period of time, he did not have the bestowed upon immortality that Imu seems to have given the Gorosei. We know the Gorosei are not affected by age because Saturn was like the same age, like fucking 200 years ago or whatever, as he is today. So something Imu does for the Gorosei, which we all assumed was the regeneration that made them immortal or whatever, stopped their aging. And it doesn't seem like the God's Knights, you're right, it does not seem like the God's Knights had that as of God Valley. In fact, let me take a quick look. Let's do some detective work here. So let's go to the God Valley chapter. Are there any signs of evidence that I can't show the chapter to you guys here, but are there signs of evidence that Garling was taking damage during this fight? Let's see. So we see I'm looking at chapter 1096. We see Garling riding around. See the Rocks Pirates' arrival. I don't see any signs of damage on Garling in the later panel that we get. Don't see any signs of damage. This is interesting. Yeah, we just don't have any sort of insight. So there's two options here, right? Option one is when you become a Gorosei, like option one is that anyone in the God's Knights and the Gorosei gets the regeneration. But only the Gorosei get immortality. Because the Gorosei were shown to not age from ancient times. Like from God Valley incident to even 200 years ago, the Emyth incident or whatever, the Gorosei are shown to, like Saturn is shown to be able to stay the same age. However, Garling was shown to age between God Valley to the present, right? So option one is God's Knights and Gorosei always had regeneration, but only the Gorosei had immortality. So for some reason, those two things are different. To me, I feel like the regeneration is, it seemed implied to be hand in hand with the immortality thing. So I think, JP, your call that maybe the God's Knights getting regeneration is being a new thing, I think that could be correct. I think that could be correct, that maybe it is a new development that the God's Knights have been given regeneration plus immortality. I feel like intuitively it just seems like it would be the same sort of ability, right? Being able to regenerate from everything, being able to, like, being immortal. There's also a certain quote. Let me see if I can find it. It's a quote while Luffy is fighting the Gorosei. Let's see. Where the fuck does this happen? Where does this happen? Is it 1112? Maybe it's the next chapter. Okay, well, give me 1 second. I think chapter 1111. So Luffy hits the energy balls back at the Gorosei. They all recover or whatever. Yeah. So we have to hurry. These guys can't die, says Luffy. And I think the Giants even... Yeah, and then the Giants say, let's get a move on. Are they really immortal? And so here they're referring to the regeneration. So to me, the regeneration and immortality, they seem like they're tied together. So I feel like that's not two separate abilities, right? So you might be right that the God's Knights were just all granted the same regen and immortality as the Gorosei just now. I think that is probably the case. I don't think that they had that before. So that's my feeling based on the implications from the quotes in Egghead. So JP, that's actually a phenomenal call if you're right about that. Yeah, Brink of War led Emu to extend the system to the God's Knights. I think that would make a lot of sense. Mahad Yare says, does Gunkko seem like she's targeting Usopp specifically? She might be angry about his self-given God moniker. That would be really funny. I don't know. Maybe it's just because Usopp's panicking a lot. And so she's bullying him. It did seem like she's messing with him particularly. And her final move was specifically to get at Usopp. That'd be funny. Uh, yeah, that would be funny. Maybe it's also just because Usopp hit her first. Maybe it's because Usopp was the first one to hit her. Also, let's get the stream likes to 150 real quick. Ursalia, thanks for the 10. Every time I return from grocery shopping, I find a photo in my bag of Morge outside my house. Each one taken closer to the door than the last. I'm worried he'll break in before I have time to clean. It's okay. You don't have to worry about cleaning. It's okay. I'll accept your house, however, whatever state it's in. Golden Spoon, thanks for the 5. We have seen the Giants be tricked before by Mother Carmel, so I can see Harold having been tricked by the world government. Yeah, the Giants don't seem like the smartest lot so far. That would actually make sense. The Giants may not be the sharpest tools in the shed. That is a good point. That is a good point, Golden Spoon. Stormfox, thanks for the 2. To be fair to Robin, Sommers is her worst matchup. Yes, and that's particularly why I think that something could... the God's Knights just seem crazy strong, right? I personally think Robin is stronger than Saul at this point, but I might be wrong. But I do think that Robin will get stronger by the end of the arc. I think that's a big thing. Because I do think Robin and Sommers, that story is not dead yet. El Aichi Muhammad, thanks for the 5. But the adult Giants are not the neuter generation, so why are they so damn weak? It could just be a lack of, a lack of practice. Practice might be the wrong word, but they've fallen out of habit, training, staying sharp, fighting against each other. Like that, those things matter, right? 60 years of not doing that, that's going to slow down the strength of the, that's going to have an adverse effect on combat capability, right? If you set down your arms, etc., for that period of time. Not to mention, if you look at Big Mom's flashback, right? Big Mom's flashback is when Loki is born. During that time, Hajrudin is training, and the Giants are almost like kind of joking about him training. Like, Hajrudin's a little kid. The Giants are almost joking about him training as if it's like a cute thing, not something that the Giants of Elbaf really do anymore. So I could see that being, like, it could be from even 60 plus years back that Harold had kind of been instituting this idea of just being a peaceful nation. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, 60 something years of not fighting, that's gonna, you're not gonna be as sharp as you once were, right? Even if you want to say the Giants age slower and stuff like that, well, then that's still like 20 something years of not fighting. So I just think that it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. The Giants have not had a need to practice their skills or whatever. Like, if you take fucking Michael Jordan, right? And take Jordan when he retired in 1996, and then just look at him on the Wizards like 5 years later. Jordan's nowhere near as good because he didn't fucking play basketball for 5 years. You take Jordan and you don't let him play basketball for 20 years, he's not going to be able to fucking play in the NBA. He's no longer a good basketball player at that point, you know? LeBron is the exception to this rule. Citizen, thanks for the 5. Gunkko's regeneration makes a crack sound and uses the pieces that were blown off. Saturn makes a schloop sound and it seems to create a whole new arm. So I was actually going back and looking at what the Gorosei's regeneration looked like compared to Gunkko's. The Gorosei's regeneration does look different. It does look different. It's visually different every time it happens. It's more like a reassembling, it seems like. Whereas Gunkko's, it did seem like almost like she's paper that is reforming. Let me take a little bit more of a close look. It does seem different, but I don't know if I'm reading too much into it. And that leads to the question, if Gunkko is artificial, for example, that does beg the question, is Gunkko's ability something that all the God's Knights have, or is this something specific to her? Do we think their regeneration is the same? Let me do a quick poll. Hold on. Is Gunkko's regeneration the same as the Gorosei? The thing is, so one thing I've been thinking about ever since the God's Knights were shown to have potentially, if they have the same regeneration as the Gorosei, it's kind of a really frustrating problem because I don't know how characters are supposed to beat them because there's so many of them, right? Because you've got 5 Gorosei, and then you've got like 9 God's Knights. The only thing we saw that could overcome the regeneration was Joy Boy level hockey. So with the Gorosei, I was like, okay, we could probably find 5 One Piece characters that are going to be able to do enough Conqueror's Haki damage to be able to defeat these 5 Gorosei. But with the God's Knights, it's just like, that seems like a very, very high bar for, like, how are the Revolutionaries going to fucking beat these God's Knights if that's a matchup that is to happen, right? Like, how the fuck is Lindbergh gonna deal damage that could like do that level of that could take care of this ability? So one thing I was considering is that maybe it's something like Imu needs to first be affected to turn off the regeneration or something like that, and then all these characters can be defeated. I don't know if I would like that, but that would be, I guess, interesting. I feel like beating them with the regeneration, because the regeneration feels like part of their powers, I feel like they should be defeated with their regeneration. Because the Gorosei, like, part of what makes them such a threat is the regeneration, right? They're not as formidable once you take that away. They're still really formidable, but it just doesn't seem quite the same. So I do wonder if something will have to happen to Imu first, turn off the regeneration, and then all these characters are beatable. Otherwise, maybe there's some trick to the regeneration that is yet to be figured out. Otherwise, maybe characters just each have to figure out their own unique method of dealing with the God's Knight and Gorosei. Because the number of characters that could actually deal the Conquerors like, if fucking Yonko level Luffy cannot deal lasting damage to even Saturn, I just don't understand how are other characters, like, how will Straw Hats beat these God's Knights? How will Revolutionary Army members beat these God's Knights, you know? Continuing on. Kid Smitty 94, thanks for the 10. What if Harold was intimidated into submitting to the God's Knights, but then shifted to a peace-loving nature so that the Giants wouldn't actually be any help to the world government, traitor to both sides? I personally think I'm leaning towards that potentially having been what happened. Because this chapter establishes 2 things, right? This chapter establishes that there was something between Harold and the world government, right? But the outcome is not what the world government wanted. Also, the outcome of creating a very educated, civilized, peaceful, kinder nation, that's not a bad thing. It has been made very clear that, like, that is something that nations in One Piece should strive for. Harold probably went too far with it in that he fucking made it like a totally neutered island that is now vulnerable to attack. But at the same time, making a school doesn't make, like, Harold's not evil because he made the kids go to school, you know? If anything, that's good. So I do believe that theory. Captain T, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 2 months. Hey Morge, what are your thoughts on Brook having knowledge of the God's Knights? Aren't they supposed to be a secret higher than CP9, etc.? So there's 2 ways to look at it. One is that it's possible that the fucking God's Knights were just a known thing in the One Piece world, but they're just never mentioned. Kind of like how Germa 66, to a lesser degree, lesser degree. Like, sometimes Oda just drops on us something like, oh, this is a big deal in the One Piece world. It's just never been mentioned because it's never been mentioned, right? I remember when Oda revealed that Germa 66 is this evil army that everyone has supposedly heard of, but it's like, dude, you could have mentioned, like, that's really, really fucking random. Like, it's really random. It could be that the God's Knights are something that, like, you know, we went 500 chapters in One Piece without anyone mentioning the Celestial Dragons or Celestial Gold or anything. That's like a long time before we find out that that's the key system that exists in the One Piece world. Maybe Oda's doing something similar with the God's Knights. Like, maybe the God's Knights are known. It's just, they're just not mentioned that much for whatever reason. That would be strange, because the God's Knights are significantly more important than something like, again, like the Germa 66, obviously, but it's not the first time. Like, again, like 500 chapters in the story before we hear about the Celestial Dragons, another 600 or so chapters before, well, it was like another 500-ish chapters before we found out about the Celestial Dragons' personal militia. It wouldn't be the strangest thing Oda's done, but I lean towards it being possible that maybe, you know, 70-ish years ago when Brook was a prominent pirate, maybe the Gods Knights were more known in the One Piece world, but maybe they've been a little bit more incognito in the last, in the more recent 20, 40 years or something. I wonder even if you remember the God Valley incident, it sounds like it used to be more common for the Celestial Dragons to come down to Earth to do those hunting competitions. We haven't heard about something like that in recent times. I wonder if the God Valley incident 40 years ago scared the world government so bad in terms of like, holy shit, a bunch of Celestial Dragons nearly just fucking died because an all-out war broke out on one of these hunting competitions. Maybe the Celestial Dragons have just made, like, one, cut out the hunting competitions, and two, as a result, it's less frequent that the Gods Knights are out and about on the world. Because it sounds like those hunting competitions were maybe like, I wouldn't be surprised if those hunting competitions were the most frequent and like notable events where the Celestial Dragons, Gods Knights militia comes down to Earth to do shit. Whereas nowadays, like now that those hunting competitions have been cut out, the Gods Knights are just less in the spotlight of the world. So they become it's a bit more of a secret. But Brooks, from the days that maybe the Celestial Dragons were more overt in terms of like doing shit in the Blue Seas and Gods Knights being involved in those things, maybe. I think that's a little possibility. Duck20, thanks for the 2. Do you think this arc will go heavy on Usopp? I really do think so. I really do think this is, like, Oda set it up for so long, and a lot of what's happening in Elbaf indicates that Oda has been planning for Elbaf for a long time. So if Usopp was one of the first things on Oda's mind when it came to Elbaf, I think that is going to be something that he follows through on in this arc, right? Just because we haven't had anything in particular for Usopp just yet, I don't think that is that big of a deal. Usopp, like, if we didn't know going in that this is supposed to be an important arc for Usopp, there's nothing that really indicates anything significant for Usopp just yet, right? But the buildup has been there. So my feeling is that whatever is supposed to be important for Usopp has not yet happened. One thing that people mentioned that is a really cool idea, I forget who came up with this, it was a viewer who mentioned this, I think. An idea that I really like regarding Usopp is that I think we're about to hit a stretch of time where we know that this is a God's Knight Assault number 1. God's Knight's Assault number 2 is coming later down the line. There's going to be this middle section of the arc where the Giants have time to regroup. The Giants were known as these great warriors throughout the world. Usopp aspired to be like them. However, upon arriving at the island of Elbaf, as it turns out, the Giants are not really warriors anymore, right? That image that Usopp mythologized and fantasized about in his head, this platonic ideal of a warrior, it no longer exists. But what we know is that the Giants are going to have to regroup and kind of build back some of their old warrior ways and their strength if they want to be ready for when the Gods Knights return, right? So the brilliant setup could be Usopp being one of the main driving factors in actually having to, he himself being the brave warrior that shows the Giants of Elbaf what they need to step up and be like. Can you imagine? I think that's a really, really cool idea of like Usopp basically having to instill some bravery and courage back into the Giants. Because this whole, it would reverse our whole idea. It would reverse our whole preconception of what Elbaf was likely set to be for Usopp, in that Usopp just kept talking about how, like, when I get to Elbaf, I want to be like those brave warriors. I want to be like those brave warriors, right? But the whole time, Usopp himself he's become a brave warrior himself hundreds of chapters back. Like, he's been a brave warrior of the sea for a long, long time. He just doesn't view himself like that, right? So now that we're at this arc, and like, I've always wondered, what would it be in Elbaf that finally makes Usopp take that final step of believing he is a brave warrior? Like, what's he missing, really? I wonder if that final step is just, it's kind of like a Wizard of Oz moment, right? Where it's like, hold on. Actually, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. One second. Oda, we know, is a fan of the Wizard of Oz. Like, he's actually mentioned that. He didn't like the ending, because the adventure itself was the treasure. But he knows the story of the Wizard of Oz, and he's mentioned, like, there's some little Wizard of Oz type callbacks in One Piece, right? I wonder if, like, with Usopp's story, it's supposed to be kind of like the Cowardly Lion, right? Where it's realizing that you've been brave for some time. Like, there's no magical thing that's going to make you finally brave. You've been brave for some time, and the thing that would finally make Usopp, it click for Usopp that he is a brave warrior of the sea, is realizing that, like, the characters that he idolized as true brave warriors, he is now braver than they are, and he actually needs to show them what it means to be a brave warrior. I think that would be really cool. So that's one of my favorite hopes for the Usopp side of the storyline, and I think that might be why we haven't gotten any Usopp story setups just yet, because Usopp's story setup can really only start post God's Night, post this whole God's Night scenario where the Giants of Elbaf need to pick themselves back up. So I think that that's a really cool potential route. I don't know if that's what's gonna happen, but I think that would be a really cool potential route. I like that a lot. JP says, did he miss my second super chat? Let me see. Shit, I might have. I'm sorry, JP. Thanks for the 10, man. I'm sorry. Also, God's Knights don't seem to have full synchronized telepathy, as Shamrock was unaware of 2 God's Knights arriving. Sommers was using smaller God's Knight, using Snail for God's Knight's affairs. Oh, true. Gorosei must have some differences. I agree. There's got to be some differences there. I just feel like the immortality and regeneration seem like the same thing. So I think you might have been onto something when you said that the immortality and regen are like 2 things that, like, I think they're bound together, and they might be a thing that is new to the God's Knights. They didn't have that before, which would be a really nice upgrade for them. So you're right. That's a really good spot. I didn't think about that as well. Hiai Stan 69, thanks for the 5. If all the God's Knights have the regeneration, I think Oda would let them all. I think Oda would have let them all flex it. That's possible, but we're still in the middle of it, right? So it might be next chapter that we get to see them having regeneration or whatever, right? Like, Saturn was first shown to have regeneration, and then in the following chapters it was confirmed that all the Gorosei basically have that regeneration. So, you know, this was the first chapter. I think we get at least 1 or 2 more chapters of the God's Knights doing shit here. I do wonder if Scopper Gaban is going to feature soon, and that would give us a really good little measuring stick for the God's Knights. Scopper Gaban showing up would be great. I would be surprised if he doesn't show up to help out Colin. And Scopper also... The problem is that Elbaf's so fucking big, right? Elbaf is a really, really big island, and Colin basically took them... It's maybe the biggest island that we've ever had. So if Scopper's in a certain... I don't know. If Scopper's doing something and he can't get to Colin in time, I think that could make sense. Mahad Yare, thanks a lot. It would be crazy if Brook knows about the God's Knights because he had been to Marijoa before by accompanying the king of that certain kingdom. I forgot about that. Brook has such an interesting past. Shit. Brook could just turn out to be like a super important character really soon. It's exciting. I really do feel like this arc is... I've been saying it for so long. I sound like a broken record. I do feel like this arc is set up to be really, really good for the Straw Hats. Like, really, really important for fleshing out a lot of storytelling for the Straw Hats. I mean, Usopp, we know, is set. Frankie's got some shit going on with the Ancient Lab. Robin and Saul. Brook dropping some knowledge bombs. I just think that there's so much potential here. Also, let me quickly do this. Quickly do this. Where's this thing? Where's the thing I'm looking for? Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to do a quick shuffling. All right? Check this out. Oh, my God. 02657. Holy shit. Thank you for the 50, man. What the fuck? Thank you for all the support today, man. Seriously. Wanna when and how much do I need to send to get a video on the beautiful origins and truth of Crocomom? So let's just start with Crocomom. Crocomom is never happening. Wano, I could show... Hold on. When I say I'm working on Wano... Look. Let me show you quickly. All right. You see these tabs? Wano, This is a document, but it's all Wano. All right, Wano. If I click into this, it's probably Wano. It's all Wano. Okay, don't look at that. All right, it's all Wano. I promise it's there in the background. It's just I'd have to I have to merge all the documents together. That's the part that I don't want to do because it's in too many pieces. So it's there. It exists. I'm not gaslighting you guys. It's all fucking Wano documents, but I just don't want to. Sometimes I open them all up and I'm just like, okay, today I'll do it. And then I look at it a little bit. I'm like, I don't know about this. It's just too much. Yeah. Yeah, it's just the way it is. It is what it is. Let's look at this. I will get there. Because I don't like still working on it, you know? I'm tired of that too. Giving you guys a little more screenshots. All right, what are we doing here? I was doing something before I started showing the Wano stuff. Oh, I was doing the rankings. Hold on, let me do the rankings. Character rankings, shuffling. Here we go. Character rankings, shuffling. All right, so we're moving some shit around. I feel like I'm going to keep my top 3 the same. 02657, thanks for the 50. I can't wait to be right. Holy shit, man. I'm glad you're enjoying this stream so much. Thank you for coming through. Wait, I really, really appreciate the support, man. Seriously. Maybe I will one day do a video on Crocomom. I don't know. I really, really do appreciate it. 02657 has double mod at this point. Yeah. Also, a good question was brought up. Ricklebani says, Morge, what's that on your wall? I will show you. Guys. For those of you who are interested, 0265, seriously, I really, really do appreciate it when you come through with the random big donations, and all just to push the Crocomom agenda, which is, I don't know, it makes it all the more admirable because it's just so nonsensical. But I do appreciate it. So I know you're doing it for the love and support of the stream. I do appreciate it quite a bit. Maybe one day you'll get me, and maybe I'll do something on Crocomom, but it's very unlikely. All right, here we go. Let me pin this shit because you guys are so interested in what's there on the walls. I'll tell you. Punk Hazard, Alabasta, Reverse Mountain, Tequila Wolf. Beautiful posters, all of them. Some of the coolest islands in One Piece, at least conceptually. If you want any of them, just hit the link to the store. You can get any of them, and if you want all 4, you get 50% off all 4 if you get the full bundle. So definitely check it out. I love all these posters. I personally think the art for all of the travel posters has just been getting better and better as we've gone on. I think my personal favorite for this group is, I do think Punk Hazard. I love the color contrast, but Alabasta is maybe the best little piece of art. It's hard to say. It's up to you guys, but if you're interested, definitely go check these out. Just hit the link above. Continuing on. We got Loki, Scopper Gaban, Gunkko. I'm still going to put Scopper Gaban above Gunkko. Loki's hard to dethrone. I think Gunkko might be turning... This chapter, she was really fucking cool, though. She was really cool this chapter. I don't want to get too much into recency bias, because Scopper Gaban also made a huge impact. But Gunkko was awesome. In terms of fight choreography, like one of the coolest abilities, honestly. I didn't think her ability was that cool initially, because it seems dumb at first. It's like literally showcasing what her attacks are going to be beforehand. But then when you see her actually use it, it's sick, right? So really, really cool ability. Really good dialogue. Very interesting and mysterious character. Yeah, Gunko's just cool. Gunko's really cool. I'm going to put her above Scopper Gaban for the moment. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Shamrock hasn't really done anything. We'll keep him here. I'm going to bump... No. I'll bump Sommers up. I think Sommers is sick. Sommers is there. Shamrock, Ripley, Colin. Maybe I bump Colin above Ripley. Colin's just been doing a little bit more, but Ripley's obviously cool. Killing him, I think suplexing that walrus was pretty cool. Killing him will move up. I'll put killing him here. Killing him, it's really killing him who's causing most of the chaos in Elbaf right now. So just getting some more focus on him. He seems more like a plot device so far, but getting some more chaos or getting some more focus on him would be cool. Let's get the stream likes up to 150 real quick because we're right there. Ange does seem like a traitor. People were pointing out that she's been extra fishy this chapter. Extra fishy. Didn't even seem that injured at all. And he used a sleeping ability on her. Like, it just seems really fishy. Nothing else really changing below. Walrus principal guy. I'll bump the Walrus principal guy up. Yeah, I'll bump the Walrus principal guy up. He tried. He just failed. I'll fucking put him above Hudruden. Why not? There we go. Yeah, so not a huge shuffling of the rankings, but that's what I got right now. Saul, I don't count Saul as an Elbaf-specific character. So we're trying to keep... Elbaf-specific characters are basically characters that we didn't really know well from the past. Does that make sense? So Dory and Brogy, we got a whole arc with them. Saul, we got a whole Robin flashback and everything. You know, like... We're going to keep it more so to, like, these are the fresh new characters of Elbaf. Like, Hudruden, I can see, technically, we got to see him in Dressrosa, but I included him here in this list almost as an exception because this is where we're really getting to know Hudruden. I don't think we got much of his character in Dressrosa. I think this is where we see the true Hudruden. So we're going to keep that. Anyway. I like this... ranking right now. I'm going to keep it like that. I like the order that we got right there. And in terms of, I wanted to see, how strong do y'all think the Gods Knights are? The Library Owl is top tier. Is it Biblio? Is it Biblio? Something like that? Yeah, that owl is pretty cool. I like the owl. But I can't count him as a character unless he talks. So let's say no counting as a character unless you talk. Yeah, Dory and Brogy aren't really new characters. We've just spent so much time with them already, and their personality is exactly the same as it was always. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5. The arc seems partly geared towards the Strahds filling in whatever steps they're missing to evolve from Emperor to Pirate King before the final war. 100% agree, man. I definitely agree. Because Wano basically established that the Strahds are very, very clearly Yonko caliber level crew. Like, very clearly, right? Zoro and Sanji handled King and Queen. Like, once Zoro and Sanji got their power-ups, they were clearly head and shoulders above King and Queen, right? And then you got, like, Jinbei taking care of Who's Who easily. Robin took care of Black Maria pretty easily. Obviously, you know, Ulti page 1, that was kind of messy. But, like, at the same time, like, Frankie took care of Sasaki, not easily, but it was a fair fight, right? And then Ulti page 1, that stuff is, like, you know... Brook didn't fight, Chopper didn't fight. Overall, I'd say the Strahd's core crew is clearly Yonko level, right? Yonko level is not enough. I think the Gods Knights are showing that. Because these are just 3 random Gods Knights. It's not like it's even been established that these are like the top 3 Gods Knights or anything, right? These are just... Like, we know Sommers is decorated or whatever. But it just seems like these are 3 Gods Knights. It's very likely the rest of the Gods Knights are comparable. So, if a single Gods Knight can do that to, like, 4 of the non-monster trio Straw Hats. Sommers seems at least that strong as well. Killing him is basically destroying all of Elbaf single-handedly. It's clear that the Gods Knights... I initially thought that the Gods Knights would be probably something comparable to a Yonko crew. It now seems like they're a cut above. And so the Strahds need to be stronger before the final war. So I'm excited for that. Watch out for next week's video because I delve into that quite a bit. 02657, thanks for the 50. Biblo number 1. You know what, 062657? I'm just for this stream, I'm gonna put Biblo in. Just for this stream. I'll give my honest ranking. Just for this stream. Alright? Just for you. Because of the crazy level of support you've showed this stream, man. I'll put Biblo in there. I would put Biblo above Roto. There we go. That's where I'd put him. Just for the stream. Don't be surprised if next stream he's gone. But for you, I'm going to include him. I'm going to make a little exception. He will probably be gone as of the next chapter. But unless he talks, in which case he now starts to make his way through the actual rankings. Thanks, 02657. Seriously, man. Yeah. What was I saying? Treadmill Mixer says, are the God's Knights immortal like the Gorosei? It just, I don't know. If they have the same regeneration as the Gorosei, it's going to be really fucking hard to beat them. Because it seems like for the Gorosei, so much of their strength is the regeneration. Because you remember Sanji swooped in and kicked Venus Juro, and that made Venus Juro, like, cough up blood. Just, like, a basic kick from Sanji. I don't remember if Sanji's eyebrow was flipped or not. But just, still, either way, Sanji comes through. Sanji's a Yonko commander level character. You want to debate whatever. How strong exactly, that's whatever. But him coming through and just being able to immediately blitz Venus Juro, or at least take him by surprise, kick him, make him cough up blood. That basically means that if Venus Juro didn't have regeneration, that's not a great look, right? That means that, like, it's the regeneration that's a really big component. Like, Venus Juro, obviously, one of the fastest, maybe second fastest One Piece character that we've seen after Kizaru. Extremely high-level swordsman. Like, he basically cut all of Egghead in half, right? Blitzed all of the pacifistas in one go. So he's obviously very strong combat-wise. And once he got going, he did take care of, like, Sanji, Bonnie, that whole group pretty quickly. But at the same time, the regeneration does seem to matter quite a bit. Like, that's what really makes the Gorosei, like, pushes them up, like, to the point that it's kind of like, okay, they're definitely, like, the stronger Gorosei are at the very least, like, Admiral-esque or plus level problems, right? Because the regeneration is just so ridiculous. So it's like, well, if the God's Knights have that as well, like, the way I'd put it is that if Gunkko didn't eliminate her regeneration, right? No regeneration, she clearly could have avoided Usopp's move. Like, she stopped Nami's move. She just, like, didn't mind it hitting her, right? Gunkko, in, like, 5 seconds, basically took out Jinbei, Brook, Nami, Usopp in one go, right? Not took him out, like, they're not knocked out necessarily, but, like, easily, like, low, she's capable, it seems like, of almost low diffing this group, right? Maybe they rally back next chapter, but she did a lot, like, very easily to all 4 of those characters. So that's without the regeneration. So to me, it's kind of like, okay, where does a character like Gunkko scale to just as, like, pure combat ability, right? Ignore the regeneration. How strong is she just as is? That's question number 1. And then question number 2 is where does regeneration put them? Because regeneration is just such a hard ability to scale. Because it's like, technically, Luffy couldn't even beat Saturn permanently, even though Luffy was clearly stronger than him. So, like, how do you really scale regeneration? I don't know. Oof says, bro, no offense, but bleeding in One Piece means nothing. I guess, but, like, I'd put it this way. I don't think Sanji could just jump in and make, like, Mihawk bleed like that. Like, I don't think he would land that hit personally against Mihawk, you know? I don't think he would land that hit against, like, Shanks or whatever. Like, I don't think he would land that hit against Kizaru. I don't think he would land that hit against Akainu. Maybe he would, because Akainu actually got hit by a lot of shit in Marineford. He just tanked through it. Like, random attack. Like, when he was pursuing Luffy, like, a lot of random shit would hit him. So, I might be overrating that. And actually, like, Jozu swooped in and hit Aokiji. So, maybe I'm actually exaggerating too much. I'm exaggerating. Maybe it doesn't mean that much. I don't know. I don't know where to scale the Gorosei without regeneration. So, I also don't know where to scale the God's Knights with the regeneration. So, let's say Gunkko... How strong are okay. How strong is Gunkko? Right? Let's say this. Yonko commander level. Yonko first mate. Above Yonko first mates. I'm not going to throw in, I don't know. You can interpret above Yonko first mate however you want. Justin Holland, thanks for the 2. It might be time for all the Strats to learn basic hockey. Watch out for next Tuesday's video, man. I think you'll be interested in what I have to say. I don't think every Strat will learn hockey, but I don't think some hockey learning is out of the question here. All right, what are the people thinking? Yonko commander level, Yonko first mate, above Yonko first mate. My feeling here is, if we pretend we take, just in terms of pure combat, if we look at what Gunkko did this chapter, I think that if we ignore regeneration, because I don't know how to scale it with the regeneration, it's too weird. I feel like she is at least... It's tricky, because I think nowadays sometimes people throw out, like, Yonko first mate level 2 easily, you know? Like, keep in mind, Gear 4 Luffy in Dressrosa, like fucking Doflamingo, right? Those are characters that are probably around Yonko 3rd commander level, if we really want to get technical. I think people kind of forget just what range Yonko commander level is. So, like, I guess the question I'd ask is, like, do you think Gunkko would beat Doflamingo, right? Let me ask that. Is Gunkko, like, let me ask this. Let me say this question, all right? I'm gonna ask this. Okay, let me phrase it like this. How do I do this? I should just do it. Gunkko, no regeneration versus Doflamingo. Oh man, why is this? This is acting weird. Hold on, let me refresh. Fuck. Yeah, let's see. Gunkko, no regeneration versus Doflamingo. Gunkko, Doflamingo. I want to see first, what do people think without the regeneration? What do people think without the regeneration? What does that look like? So even without regeneration, she can easily handle 4 Strats at the same time, one of them being Jinbei. Ichiro Oda Sensei says saying no regeneration is like so unfair. It's saying like Luffy. It's like saying Luffy with no gear 5th. No, I'm trying to scale that would be totally fair, because it's trying to scale how strong a character is, right? Like that's totally fine. I'm trying to understand, like, where do people put Gunkko without the regeneration, right? Let's start with that, and then we can add in regeneration and see, like, how does that feel in terms of where that puts the character, right? That's totally it's like, do you think Zoro can beat Luffy without gear 5th? That's a totally normal question. That's trying to understand how strong you think Zoro is in relation to Luffy. Okay, so even without regeneration, so just in terms of pure combat ability, people think Gunkko is above Doflamingo. Yeah. Vectors are stronger than strings. Combat sport fences, Jinbei versus Doflamingo would be high diff alone. I personally think people overrate the shit out of Jinbei, so I disagree with that. But I could see that. Okay. Then let's see. Gunkko. So we think at least. So then the majority of people think that Gunkko is like commander level. So then Gunkko versus Gear 4th Luffy, I imagine people think the same thing. Gunkko versus Katakuri would be interesting. Yeah, this is just interesting. So here's what I recall. So Katakuri has a similar moment at the tea party. Oh, I was told to tell you that your dick so small is here. Where's your dick so small? We got to make him a mod. Dick so small. Where's that? Where's that guy? Where's that guy? Dick so small. Make yourself known. If anyone sees Monte as well, tell Monte to make himself known. What was I saying? Gunkko versus so Katakuri has a similar moment at the tea party where it's Jinbei, Pedro, and Capone Beige all trying to attack him at once, and Katakuri just gets through them pretty easily. So I feel like that's similar to what Gunkko just did. So maybe Gunkko, even without regen, is in the same ballpark as Katakuri? I don't know. Let's see. Gold Burrito says Gunkko's only strong because of regen. No, because like it's almost shown to be the opposite in that even if she didn't, we're like the only reason we even got to see her regeneration this chapter is because it seemed like she allowed herself to get hit, right? We could easily Oda chose to show that she could regenerate this chapter, but this entire encounter could have literally just been Gunkko attacks Usopp, redirects Nami's lightning, takes out Brook and Jinbei simultaneously, hits all of them basically in one go, right? Like, Oda chose to establish for the reader that she can regenerate also, but we already saw that Gunkko can she can turn Nami's Zeus attacks back on her, right? Gunkko did not have to get hit by Usopp's attack at all. So, Oda included that just for us to see, but even without regeneration, this whole encounter would have gone exactly the same, which is kind of insane to think about. All right, let's see. Fine. Gunkko. What's going on here? How about Gunkko versus... Gunkko versus Katakuri is difficult because then that just comes down to how you think the future side interaction would go. All right, let me just say straight up. Gunkko versus Doflamingo can't even damage Bound Man Luffy. How's it wild? Yeah, but I think Doflamingo can almost get underrated sometimes because, like, he's a fast character from what we've seen. The strings are very, very versatile. And Doflamingo is able to, like, capture and hold Jozu, for example. So, like, it's not crazy. Teptio Treviso says, Gunkko redirect feels like Garo from One Punch Man, Water Stream Fist. Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned this. I don't know if I mentioned this towards the beginning of the stream. I don't remember now. But, like, I talked in that Gunkko Ginny video about, like, the potential parallels between Gunkko and Kuma. Even if that is a Ginny clone, even their fruits are very, very similar, right? Down to their fruits, in that Kuma can send people in the direction that he wants by touching them, right? And he can basically redirect or reflect attacks, right? Gunkko, very similar. She can redirect attacks. She can make people march or move in the direction that she wants. It's basically moving things, like Kuma's is moving things from point A to B, but it's very linear, right? He can move himself, he can move other people from point A to B, he can move attacks, redirect attacks from point A to B. Gunko's is more versatile because she can move herself along the arrows, she can move attacks along the arrows, she can have people, like the kids, walk along the arrows, stuff like that. Gunko's ability is very fate-focused in terms of, like, the arrows setting a direct course and everything like that. I feel like there are parallels between those two abilities. JP oh wait, sorry, I missed one. Duck20, thanks for the 5. Do you think Holy Lands hoard hockey knowledge and there might be some hidden hockey knowledge in Elbaf? If there is, I feel like Scopper Gaban would know it. One thing the Gods Knights showed was, like, being able to conceal their presence. Interestingly, the Minks low-key seemed to be able to show that as well, or it was sort of implied that they could do that, but I don't know if that was actually observation hockey or that was just the Minks being very, like, quiet or something like that. But this was when they first arrived in Zou. So there's the observation hockey aspect. I don't know if this is, like, a hockey technique, though, like this whole regeneration thing. That would be kind of crazy if people can just do that. it doesn't feel like a hockey technique, but it would be really insane if it was. JP, thanks for the 5-man. Ironically, Katakuri has a similar moment where he gets no diffed via confusion, and him and Oven knock each other out in a cover story. Fuck, that is also true. That is also true. Yeah, maybe Katakuri wouldn't do so hot here. It doesn't even really make sense because Katakuri is fucking Future Sight. I don't understand that scenario seemed a little contrived. Declan Murphy says the scary thing is that Gunkko is probably the weakest out of the three. I now feel like killing him might be the weakest in direct combat, but killing him's ability on a large scale is probably the strongest, so it depends on how you weight that. Does that make sense? Like, I think if you just drop killing him into an arena with somebody, I think Gunkko would take him. I feel like if you need someone to destroy an entire island, you would let killing him, like, give him some space and let him do his thing. So it depends how you weight things, you know? Snake5 says, more, do you think the regen ability will just be an advanced hockey check like Logias are for basic hockey? So for a long time, I did think that with the Gorosei, especially because the thing that was kind of shown to counter the Gorosei was Joy Boy's hockey, right? And there was discussion from the end of Wano that, like, Luffy, you need to improve your hockey. Like, that's literally what Kaido was saying, like, your hockey is not good enough or whatever. But Luffy was ultimately able to do it with his combination of hockey and Devil Fruit. Luffy's advanced Conqueror hockey moves, assuming that's what those were not enough to damage the Gorosei, right? So to me, it started to feel like, okay, to take out the Gorosei, you need, like, really, really tip-top, absolute tip-top advanced Conqueror's hockey. Again, the fact that we saw Joy Boy was able to have an effect on the Gorosei with just Conqueror's hockey, it seemed to reinforce that. And I was also thinking that, look, there's not that many Gorosei. So the idea that Oda might be setting up a scenario where, like, it's like a handful of the strongest characters who are the select ones who basically get to take out Gorosei at the end of the story, like Dragon, things like that. That's a good way to flex Oda's strongest characters, if that makes sense. But now if it's like all the fucking God's Knights have this ability, I just don't understand, because, like, there's going to be 9-ish God's Knights. There's not going to be, like, if you combine the number of Gorosei, 5 Gorosei, even if you think one of them is a traitor, like I think Jupiter's a traitor or something, that many Gorosei plus, like, 9 God's Knights plus fucking Imu himself, there's not that many characters in One Piece who, in my opinion, who by the end of the story are going to have better hockey than Luffy had in Egghead Island. Like, Luffy right now is already... How many stronger hockey users are there than Luffy in the story at this point? Like, who can use... Let's say who can use Conqueror's hockey, better advanced Conqueror's hockey techniques than Luffy. Fucking probably good guy characters, right? Good guy characters. Shanks, Mihawk, Dragon, Garp. Right? Who else is there that would be a better advanced Conqueror's hockey good guy user than Luffy? Because, like, if Luffy couldn't damage Gorosei in Egghead, it basically means that to overcome that regen, you need better hockey than Luffy. Those are the only 4 characters I can think of off the top of my head who are better, probably better hockey output than Luffy right now. If you guys can think of somebody else, let me know. So now if it's like, well, 9 God's Knights also need to go down, or even 8 God's Knights, I don't fucking know. Who the fuck is going to do it? Who's doing this? Fufu Warrior says Akainu maybe? Sure, let's say maybe Akainu... Let's say, because I do think Akainu will turn against the Celestial Dragons at some point. Let's say Akainu has awakened Conqueror's Haki or something. If we go with those 2 hypotheticals, and let's pretend Akainu might have improved his Conqueror's Haki to be better than Luffy's or something. I don't know. If we go with all 3 of those hypotheticals, then you got 5, right? You got 5 characters who could reasonably take out, like, Gorosei-type fighters, right? But now if there's 8 other fucking characters in the mix, that's, like, a lot, you know? Potentially Loki. Great point. I forgot about that. I'm stupid. Forgot about that. We're fucking in the arc with the dude. Orang Hambleton says Kuzan. You think Kuzan has... Kuzan, we don't even know if he has Conqueror's Haki, let alone better advanced Conqueror's Haki than Luffy. There's no... Aokiji does not have better Haki than Luffy as far as we've seen. We don't even know... He doesn't even seem to be a Conqueror's Haki user. JP, thanks for the 20... Holy shit, man. Thank you for the so much support today. Thinking on it more, Gunkko summoned the others and seemed to know more than Shamrock. Maybe she is special and only she has regen and telepathy. There were theories of her having special connection to Imu. She fears Nika too. I would be cool with that. That would seem to make a lot of sense. Let's see if the other Gods Knights, maybe in the next couple chapters, we see if the other Gods Knights can regen as well. Because there does seem to be a lot that's special about Gunkko. I naturally lean to the artificial Ginny clone type thing. But maybe it's something that's related to a connection with Imu. That's entirely possible. The teleportation circles aspect. Yeah, there might be something there. There might be something there. Some people even fucking mentioned sometime back something that I don't even something that I don't even I didn't give stock to at the time, but the thing that attacked Cobra was also something that looked like an arrow. I basically took it as like Imu's Zoan form has a devil's tail or something like that. But there might be weight to that. Let me take a look. Let me do a little research right here. This would be what, chapter 1085 or something? Let's see. It looks like a fucking arrow. JP, you might be onto some shit here, man. Hold on. If this turns into any sort of I'm writing your credit down right here. If this turns into anything. Shit, that could put some shit together. This is interesting. That is a very, very interesting point. Miss Supers, hold on. KGM78, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 30 months. Holy shit, man. Thank you very much. Usopp is the perfect opponent for Gunkko. He just has to misdirect her ability with his tricks and show her that fate isn't always correct. Maybe a really tricky ability user is needed to fight Gunkko. I figure the only things that can counter Gunkko's ability are really strong Haki or, some trickery type abilities. So that makes a lot of sense. I also think that, personally, that this might be an arc where Usopp improves his observation Haki. I feel like stuff like Future Sight could be really, really fucking useful in fighting Gunkko's ability. I think that being able to see where she's going to put her arrows in the first place basically makes it impossible for her to create a route that's actually going to hit you. Or not impossible, but very difficult, right? Haki should also be able to change the trajectory of the arrows because that's just what we've been told Haki can kind of do. It can work against Devil Fruit abilities. So yeah, I think that could make sense. JP, thanks for the 20. Thinking on it more, Gunkko summoned the others. JWP. Sorry, let me start with this. Sorry. JWP, thanks for coming through, man. Thank you for the 5. Always good to see you, man. Just got here. Shamrock stocks have to be to the moon, right? Possibly Shanks level Haki, mythical Zoan weapon, possibly infinite regen, LMFAO. If all the Gods Knights have this regen ability, Shamrock's going to be a real fucking problem. like a real fucking problem. If he, like, the Shanks level hockey, we don't know. That's going to be if Shamrock really is Shanks cloned, but plus extras, then he's just a broken character, right? But my feeling is still that Shamrock will be weaker than Shanks, just because symbolically, the good brother who doesn't have all the world government privileges, etc., is going to be stronger than the bad guy brother. I just feel like that's going to be the case. But yeah, Shamrock having that shit, like, I think Shamrock stocks did just rocket up. I'll say this at the very least, because the leader of these groups is often way stronger than the subordinates. Like, the subordinates kind of reflect the strength of the leader. It's the same way, like, if you look at the Beast Pirates, right? The Beast Pirates, I think most people would agree that the Calamities were ultimately probably stronger. Like, the Beast Pirates as a whole were ultimately probably stronger than Big Mom's subordinates, right? Like King, Queen, stuff like that. And yeah, like Kaido, Big Mom, respectively, like Kaido's a bigger threat than Big Mom is, and so on, right? I think the fact that the Blackbeard pirates are not that formidable just yet also probably reflects that Blackbeard himself is maybe not yet at the level of like someone like Kaido or Shanks, right? I think that crew is still growing. Doflamingo pirates, right? Like the strength of the crew kind of reflects the strength of the strongest leader, right? I think the fact that God's Knights so far, I don't think that these are the three strongest God's Knights, right? These are just three God's Knights that we happen to get. I'm sure they're pretty strong. Like Sommers is a very decorated God's Knight, and Gunkko seems to be important in some way. But like, just the fact that three God's Knights are this crazy powerful, like clearly stronger than the standard Yonko officer. Like most people seem to feel like these God's Knights are at least Yonko first mate level or so on. Maybe not killing him, but killing him's ability is at least like a weapon of mass destruction, right? So if these God's Knights, just like Shamrock is getting inherently really upscaled by the fact that his crew, his subordinates, are on a different level than we've seen with Yonko crews so far. Right? They're just on a different level. They, like, Gunkko alone seems like she could fucking solo the Tobi Roppo, considering, like, even Jinbei is useless against her, right? And Gunkko is just a God's Knight. There are 8 other God's Knights or something like that. So Shamrock's full strength is going to be something incredible. Kind of crazy, right? JP, I got you. JWP, thank you for the 20. Maybe all of the God's Knights and the Gorosei have been given the regeneration ability by Imu, and once Imu is defeated, the effects of his Devil Fruit will be negated. Makes the most sense, except it would be weird if Luffy won his matchup first. Yeah, so this is something I talked about at the earlier in the stream, which is that a scenario that seems like it's possible to me is that if the regen really can't be dealt with easily, it's very possible that something will have to be done against Imu to first turn that shit off, then make the rest of the subordinates beatable. Once the rest of the subordinates are defeated, then Imu gets defeated. I think that might be a flow of events. So an example could be, let's say, hypothetically, the regeneration, hypothetically, might stem from the immortality surgery having been done on Imu way back when. And then Imu, by virtue of his own powers, is able to bestow that immortality on other people. Let's just pretend that's the case. We don't know. Let's just pretend, okay? That's just a working little theory, okay? If that is the case, then maybe fucking, like, Law or somebody, I guess Law, might do something, like, maybe Law sacrifices himself to turn off Imu's immortality surgery, right? Law gets a moment or something. We know that Law's in it for the long run at this point. He's like trying to follow the will of D, yada yada. He's probably going to be helpful in some way. So maybe Law in some way turns off, like sacrifices himself for the sake of the world or some shit, turns off Imu's immortality surgery. So Imu's still around and as a fighter, but now he's not immortal anymore. Now he's beatable. Let's pretend that's the case. And by extent, all of his other subordinates can now be defeated. Then all those fights happen, Gorosei, God's Knights, etc. go down, then Luffy or whoever defeats Imu. Maybe that might be a route. So essentially defeating Imu is a couple phases. Initially he's not beatable, something has to happen that turns him beatable, and therefore all of his subordinates beatable. Subordinates go down, Emu fight finishes. Maybe that's the case. I kind of don't like that, personally, because I'm personally cool with, like, if these characters have insane regeneration, let them fight with that, and just make the answer crazy strong Haki to beat them. That's my feeling, but, making a lot of assumptions here, so I guess we'll wait and see. DM Fuerte says Holy Knights have to be higher than Admirals. I don't think Holy Knights are... I don't think they're all stronger than Admirals. I don't think they're all above Admirals. I wouldn't be surprised if, like... I think Shamrock will be above the Admirals. I think that, like, it's very possible that the average Holy Knight level, the average God's Knight level, might be Yonko First Mate and up, or maybe Yonko Commander and up or something like that. That's entirely possible. Like, the average level could be really high. And then maybe we get one or two Admiral level fighters in there, like maybe whoever the second strongest God Knight is, maybe the third strongest or something. But I think that only Shamrock will ultimately be top tier. Personally, that might be wrong. Might be wrong. Nile Show, thanks for the 5. Have you entertained the idea that Shamrock clashed with Kaido during Marineford, not Shanks? It's openly questioned how fast Shanks got to Marineford. I did entertain that, and it almost sparked a video from me. But then I read the Vivre cards to double check just in time, and the Vivre cards say specifically that on the way to Marineford, Kaido clashed with the red-haired pirates. So it's not ambiguous, right? If it turns out Kaido clashed with Shamrock, that would basically mean the Vivre cards can never again be taken as canon, because it's just outright wrong. There have been times that the Vivre cards have left out information. So, for example, I think Garp's initial Vivre card did not mention that he has Conqueror's Haki. But then after Egghead Island, Garp's updated Vivre card did reflect the fact that he had Conqueror's Haki, therefore indicating that sometimes Oda just leaves off information because he wants it to be a surprise later on. But he's not lying, he's just not including it yet. This would be a different case, because if Oda says in a Vivre card, Kaido fought the red-haired pirates before Marineford, and then in actuality it's revealed Kaido fought the God's Knights before Marineford instead, that means the Vivre card was factually incorrect, and there's no point in trusting the Vivre cards anymore after that. Let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. I personally thought that was a really exciting possibility at first, so I was very excited about it, that like, oh shit, there might be a whole hidden history of what Shamrock's been doing behind the scenes that we can trace back. But I can't find any evidence of what Shamrock's actually been doing before all this. It doesn't seem like he fought Kaido. Growth Stonks, thanks for the 5. Do you think that the Gunkko arrow fruit is the superior version of the Mark fruit? Also, Zoro is the perfect person to fight Gunkko. You can't misdirect him. That would be so... that would be so fucking funny. That is genuinely a really fucking... It would be like an Usopp Perona moment, where it's like, you can't redirect me, I'm always misdirected or something. You can't misdirect me, I'm always misdirected. That would be so incredibly funny. That's I don't know if that's gonna happen, but that is the funniest Zoro matchup idea that low-key I could definitely see Oda doing. That is just so... That is really good. What's the Mark fruit? I don't know what the Mark fruit is. Mark fruit, One Piece. Oh, fucking Carabo's fruit? Yeah, I could see it kind of being an upgrade on that. Yeah, a strictly superior version of that. That's a good call. I fucking forgot about that fruit. But that fruit was it was a problem in Fishman Island. It was definitely a problem. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 because we're almost there. ZMP323, thank you for the 10. I think Gunkko is Imu's handmaid, and her fear of Nika came from indoctrination by Imu. That's why she wasn't ID'd as an actual celestial dragon by Oda. I can't wait to see her interact with Gear 5th Luffy. Ooh, you guys are saying some juicy shit here. Let me take a look at that handmaid interaction now. Because it was interesting that Imu seems like a very secretive, like his existence seems to be very secretive, but at the same time, someone was able to just talk to him just like that. Let's take a look. Let's take a look. So if we're tracking back, Great Emu, they have arrived. Okay, we get no information from that. We just see some woman bowing to him. Interesting shit. I do think a potential... JP, you really said some great stuff this stream, because, like, I think you really did open up a path of maybe Gunkko, like, that's why Gunkko is different, that's why she's special. She is maybe something specifically created for Emu to be like a little puppet mouthpiece for Emu. That would be pretty fucking crazy, and that's why she also has the regeneration of the Gorosei. That's why the arrow ability seems like something that she can do that Emu also seems to be able to do. I drink mangoes. Thanks for the 14. It's literally just the abyss. I feel like if you erase the abyss circle in the castle or their mark, their regeneration turns off. Maybe the real body stays inside the abyss when they go through it. So actually, somebody mentioned that in the Voice of the People that just came out, the Voice of the People segment. A patron mentioned that. Maybe are you that same patron? Let me pull it up. It didn't get the most likes, so I didn't share that in the chapter review. But, are you Golden Spoon? Are you Golden Spoon on Patreon? Someone on Patreon, one of my patrons, Golden Spoon, said, Gunkko being able to regenerate has me thinking that maybe the regeneration is tied to the summoning circle, maybe not just Emu bestowing it. Like they can regenerate because their real body isn't actually there or something like that. It'll explain why when Emmet did his hockey thing, everyone returned to where their real body would be. I like that idea. For the patron comments, it didn't make the Voice of the People. I thought it was the most interesting Voice of the People, so sometimes I make an exception, but I usually go with what has the most likes, just to be a little fair. But I do like that idea. But that begs the question, why then would the Gorosei ever fight with their real bodies? I mean, maybe that would be the case. Like, at the end of the day, like, cornering them at Marie-Joie where they have to fight with their real bodies could be a good route to taking them on. But at the same time, it's like their real bodies aren't there. We saw that that they were transported to... No, I don't know. We didn't really see anything in particular. So maybe it is like a manifestation of them, a sort of shadow manifestation. That's a really cool idea. Never thought about that. Explains the Nika fear too. Yeah. The Plague says Sanji versus Sommers is another egghead Sanji versus Kizaru, I assume. I do wonder if maybe it'll be... I think Sanji and Robin versus Sommers makes a lot of sense. I think with Robin, just a lot of things line up thematically, and the scene seems written for Robin to have a clear motivation to get stronger to defeat Sommers. If it sounds a little unbelievable right now, wait till this Tuesday's video, because it will make more sense then, I think, once I get into the details of it. But I think also Sanji fighting Sommers would be a great opportunity for Sanji. There are clear connections there as well. It could just be a 2v1 at the end of the day. I could definitely see that being the case, and ties things together from the Wano situation as well. JWP, thanks for the 5. The weird thing about the Gods Knights is that we don't know if the ones on Elbaf are the commanders of their crew, like the Yonkos, or if they're the Tobi Roppo. I would be not surprised if the Gods Knights don't really fall into that same sort of hierarchy system. Let's take a quick look at their introductions again. Or if God's Knight is just a standard rank, and then like someone like Shamrock has a specific additional rank, or like Garling has an additional rank, if that makes sense. Because what we know is that Garling was listed as like the Supreme Commander. Shamrock was listed as a captain. None of the 3 Gods Knights that have shown up, aside from them, have any sort of additional rank to them that I can see. I might be forgetting something, but I believe that's the case. Let me double check. What chapter did the Gods Knights arrive? 1140. Like the new Gods Knights. Let's see. Yeah, it just says Gods Knight. Like, they're just referred to as Holy Knights. So it's not even like they would have that ranking system. I could see what you're saying in terms of just like, even if it's not official, just, are these the 3 next strongest Gods Knights after Shamrock? The same way that, like, the Strahds don't have official commanders, but Zoro and Sanji are the next strongest fighters after Luffy. So we don't know. We don't know if these are the 3 next strongest or if these are just 3 random Gods Knights. I imagine that these would be 3 of the stronger Gods Knights because Oda probably wants to debut the Gods Knights with a particularly cool showing. I think the way Oda went about this was pretty damn cool because I'm not going to lie, I initially felt a little bit underwhelmed when so the Gods Knights showed up. From the beginning, I didn't think Gunkko was that strong. I did not feel like Gunkko was that strong from the get-go because she explained her ability to Loki. It seemed almost more like a limited ability than anything. And Loki was just a big punching bag. And it didn't, like, she was wailing on Loki for some time. It didn't seem that, like, there was nothing that intimidating about her ability, right? Because she was just using it on a punching bag, a giant punching bag. So Gunkko didn't seem that impressive to me. Sommers and Killingham showed up, and I was excited. But really, I think we were all most excited to see what Shamrock could do. So then Shamrock left. And then you got the 3 Gods Knights chilling, and they're talking about how they're going to take down Elbaf and stuff like that, and they're sitting at the table. But when we were left with just the 3, I did question how strong are these 3 actually, you know? Then when Killingham's ability started, it should have been the cue right off the bat that they're very strong. But I think there was still that question mark, and I remember we've had these discussions on stream. I've seen people talking on Twitter and everything like that, like, how strong are the Gods Knights? I imagine that they're probably comparable to a Yonko crew. A lot of people seem to assume that they're probably comparable to a Yonko crew, stuff like that. A lot of people are like, well, maybe Sommers is like first mate level or something. This chapter basically established that we need to stop thinking of them like a Yonko crew. Because even if these are 3 of the stronger Gods Knights, I don't personally think that these are the next 3 strongest after Shamrock. I don't think Oda would just blow his load on the 3 strongest right off the bat. I think these might be 3 of the stronger Gods Knights, but that would still mean that, like, the average Gods Knights level is basically Yonko Commander-ish, that ballpark, or up, right? That's really fucking crazy. So it makes sense because the scale of threat is going to keep increasing in the story as we go. So we're moving past kind of dealing with, like, you know, it's the same way like a Yonko crew is going to be stronger. Like Big Mom Pirates are stronger than Doflamingo's family, right? Like we're just going to keep going up as the story progresses. Yeah, I think that in retrospect, while I initially felt a little underwhelmed that Oda only left us with 3 Gods Knights to work with, and full confirmation, like I was like, and one of them's just Gunkko, who we already saw her ability, and her ability is not that cool. Now I'm like, Oda made a brilliant decision by only having 3 Gods Knights here, because it carries so much more weight when just 3 Gods Knights are able to do this much damage this easily. Like, just 3 of them are fucking up the entire fucking island of Elbaf, which is the island with the strongest citizens in the world, right? It's kind of crazy. People are pointing out Saturn's real body was there. My interpretation of the comment was that their body, like their true body, is sort of like faded into, like absorbed by the abyss, and the thing that pops out is then their shadow body, if that makes sense. That was my interpretation of what was being said. Like their body goes, like once you teleport from one circle to the other, right? Your real body is being absorbed by the abyss or something, or like it exists in a netherworld or something, and then the thing that's popping out is like a shadow form. That's what I thought was being said, because with the rest of the Gorosei, it looked like their real bodies were actually their real bodies were actually teleported to Egghead Island, and then they were I didn't get the sense that their real bodies were just sitting around at Marijua. Monte, congratulations on getting your prediction correct from last week. Everybody congratulate Monte. Monte correctly predicted that, let's see. Monty predicted that Gunkko would kidnap Colin. Congratulations, Monty. You are now a mod. Everyone shouts in the chat for Monty. If anyone sees dick so small I piss on my balls, let me know. Based on Somers' comment, we could get something inspired by the Jorms Vikings. Oh, like from Vinland? I guess they're real Vikings too. A quasi-historic band of mercenaries associated with Harold Gormson, likely Harold's IRL inspiration, was also killed by his son. Oh, shit. That's interesting. Fuck, do I need to do like a little bit of a history lesson now? Let's see. Harold Viking killed by son. Harold Viking killed by son. Harold Gormson. Sweyn led a rebellion against his father. Interesting. Interesting. I like that. JWP, thank you for the 10, man. If Gunkko is created by Emu, how do you think her liking Brooks' music factors in? Maybe there won't be a Gorosei traitor. Instead, Emu's own creation betrays him. Wild how fast Gunkko became so interesting. I do think, like, if you go back to my whole Gunkko video that I dropped recently, I strongly believe Gunkko is going to turn sides by the end of it. I think that is what is set up for her character. She looks and acts really fucking bad right now because that's kind of the point, to me, of a character arc where, like, you start off here and then you change and end up over here. I think the seeds are there for change, but she's very entrenched in what she's supposed to be. So I do believe that this is going to be a case where, like, she is a puppet of Emu's. But what is a major recurring theme of One Piece going all the way, like, Egghead Island, the arc before this, was literally all about this theme. You cannot create mindless puppets that will blindly obey you. You can never crush out free will. No matter what you do, no matter what you create, there is always going to be a trace of free will that will eventually break out. I'm not going to get into all of that explanation here because I did the entire Egghead Island analysis to break that down in far greater detail, but definitely go check that out. Dick so small, piss on my balls is here in the chat. Not sure why he's not commenting though. Dick so small, say something so I can make you a mod. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Let's get the stream likes up to 200. I will be right back. I need some water. How do we know Harold killed the guards in the throne room and not Loki? How do we know Harold killed the guards in the throne room and not Loki? Maybe it was all of them versus Harold. I do believe that that's possible as well. I think we're being misled there quite a bit as to what actually happened. So that's now become, it's been the most exciting mystery of the arc. I think the mystery around Gunkko is also very exciting as well. I think Oda's doing a phenomenal job with the underlying mystery of this arc. Like, what is the truth behind Harold, and therefore, what is the truth behind Loki? I Drink Mangoes, thanks for the 7. My headcanon is Emu wanted to kill Moria because his power is too similar to the Abyss. Maybe Moria is the one weakness to Abyss-related stuff. That's a fun, interesting little idea, but, like, I don't personally think that's the case. I think that they are distinct powers. It's like the same way like I don't think Blackbeard's power of darkness is the same as Moria's. I think they just happen to be visually similar, and in name and theme, I suppose, like a little bit like the shadow stuff, a little bit similar. Fuck, maybe Blackbeard's powers have something to do with the Abyss, because Blackbeard sucks things into the nothing realm or something like that. I guess into nothing, and then he can release it at whim. I don't know, maybe there's something there, but I don't think Moria's is. I think Moria's is more straightforward. I would have thought it'd be cool to have them, like, fucking jump one of the Gorosei. Or not Gorosei, Shichibukai. JP, thanks for the 5. Personal prediction for the overall arc. What occupies the topmost realm is the villain of the first world or something related directly. Let me throw that to chat. What do you guys think about there? Because I personally thought early on in Elbaf, before we really got much context on anything, that there could be a villain in Heaven Realm. I did think that was a possibility. Now it's just like a villain in Heaven Realm on top of everything else? I don't know. Is there another villain in Heaven Realm? That would be kind of crazy, because that's just loading up on villains for the arc. Like, the Gods Knights are already so much to handle. Another villain on top of that would be fucking insane. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200, because we're almost there. Human Tripod OG says the betrayal of this arc on the antagonist side will be Gunkko. 100% agree. And I think Ange is really looking like a blatant traitor at this point. Killing him only just fucking put her to sleep. You know, he's not even doing shit to her. People are leaning towards no villain there. I'll let you guys vote on that a little bit. I will be right back. Hello, hello. All right. So a lot of people do believe that there's another villain in him. Holy shit, like a solid 50-50 split. Uruj, if any. You think they call it Heaven Realm because fucking Uruj has been up there the whole time? I don't know about that. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick because we are literally almost right there. Monte says this arc is so well paced, man. That is easily my favorite thing about this arc. And you know why it's well paced? It's because there's not that many fucking characters and plot threads. Like, there really are not that many plot threads. The plot threads are very, very tight. It's really all just one plot thread. No, there's two ongoing plot threads right now. One is the Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Loki group down there, and they're dealing with Loki's shit. And then two is the fucking God's Knight's assault upstairs. That's it. Those are the only two plot threads. If you want to separate it into scenes, then there's a few scenes going on in the God's Knight's assault, but it's all essentially the same plot point that is being dealt with, which is fighting against the God's Knights, right? It's just some people are dealing with Gunkko, some people with killing him, some people with Sommers. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's just, we got a chapter focused on the singular plot point of dealing with the God's Knights. That's good. And then downstairs, the other plot thread is Luffy and the monster trio with Loki, right? If you look at something like any other fucking arc, like just backtrack, right? In Fishman Island, right off the bat, we had some Straw Hats, like we had Frankie finding Tom, we had Robin doing something, I forget, Poneglyph related. We had Zoro's group in the palace. We had Luffy off with Shirahoshi doing some shit. Like, even from the very get-go, it was a lot of different plot threads and a shit ton of side characters that don't need to exist. Like, why have 3 brothers when you just need 1? No one fucking remembers the name of 2 of the brothers. All they did was dance. Why have a minister of the left and a minister of the right? Those things aren't necessary. Like, it's just a little encapsulation of just too many different things that are gonna make, like, Fishman Island, it's a very simple plot. The plot of Fishman Island is so fucking basic, it's insane. But it takes fucking 50 chapters. It's almost as long as fucking Alabasta because it's just so spread out. The plot is so fucking simple. Almost nothing happens plot-wise in Fishman Island. It's like they fucking show up, Horty takes over the palace, the Strats talk to Jinbei and get some background context on the country. Then they go kick Horty's ass. That's the plot of Fishman Island. But it takes 50-something chapters because that's what happens when you've got so many fucking characters, right? In Wano Act 2, like, think about the pace of Wano Act 1 versus Wano Act 2. Wano Act 1 had a very straightforward, nice, easy breezy pace because it's just Luffy and Zoro. It's just Luffy and Zoro. Zoro comes in a little bit later, but it's just Luffy and Zoro. Luffy meets Tama. They go free they go take down Hold'em and his bad guys. They bring back food to the village. They agree upon the plot for the raid or whatever. And then Luffy fights and loses to Kaido. And that's really tight storytelling in it was like 15 chapters. It was like 15 chapters and then Act 1's done. And a lot happens right then. But compare that to Act 2. How many fucking plot lines are there in Act 2? Act 2 is like 50 different plot lines going on. None of them have that much time devoted to them. So it's just cutting between like Udon and then Hiyori's bullshit and then Momonosuke making his way over to Udon and then Zoro chasing after a bandit and then something about the bathhouses and shit like that and Osoba mask. It's just, and then fucking Kawamatsu shit. It's a million different things, right? Whole Cake, really good pacing, I think, for the first part. I think the pacing gets messy towards the climax of Whole Cake, but the early parts of Whole Cake are tight pacing because you're just focusing on really Luffy Nami's group, a little bit of Brook Pedro, tiny bit of Brook Pedro, and then Sanji, right? So tight pacing. The pacing is always good when the story is focused. When the story is focused and moving forward to hit its key beats, the pacing is just generally going to be better. So Elbaf, it's honestly been perfect pacing so far. I think the one point that you could argue it felt slow. I mean, you could argue that it's felt slow in points because we're in the exposition phase. But if you look at it overall as an arc, once we hit about 18, 19 chapters in, that was when the first significant plot point began, which is the God's Knight's assault, right? Around chapter 1141, 42-ish is when the God's Knight's assault began, right? So that's good. Like, that's good shit. That's tight storytelling. You look at it, first several chapters were inside Legoland. I think that could have been more exciting, but it does ease us into the plot. Then we get our first point of interest, which is Loki. Then we get to know the people of Elbaf and the Giants a bit and get a feel for the island. So you got that stretch where we're getting a feel for the island, getting to know the the characters are being established, Loki's established, Scopper Gaban's established, the culture, like Saul's return is established, the culture of the island is established, some of the lore with the mural and everything is being set up. So our intrigue, you got our intro bit, you got the intro, which is Legoland, you got establishing the cast of characters and the setting, right? And then you hit your first point of conflict, which is the God's Knight's assault. All of that, and now that's heading towards its conclusion. All of that within the first 20 chapters. That is very neat, tight storytelling. That is good shit. It's similar to in Alabasta. We reached Alabasta around chapter, I want to say 154, 155. We hit Alabasta. Then by chapter 180, so 25 chapters in, we had our little intro section of Alabasta. We then spent some time in the desert getting to know the cast of character, establishing the cast of characters of Alabasta, learning about the culture, learning about the lore, understanding the setting, understanding the conflict, right? And then we hit our first main point of conflict, which was the rain-based scenario where the Strats all got captured. Luffy, the crocodile's plan goes into effect where he's turning the whole kingdom against the royal family and starting the rebellion, and Crocodile's defeating Luffy, right? That all happens in the first 25 chapters of Alabasta. That's nice, neat, focused storytelling. Doesn't cover not too many different plot threads that are running. It's just focused on the main characters, covers the main beats that you want in the opening first half or so of the story. That's good. Then from there, we move on to the second phase of Alabasta, which is, okay, Now that the problem took place, now we need to move forward, take steps to resolve it, right? In Elbaf, I imagine this second phase, there's going to be a longer in-between time because the God's Knights are going to take some time to come back. But the pacing has pretty much been the same level of pacing as Alabasta, which is to say very tight, very tight, very smooth. DM Fuerte says Egghead was the best paced until Vegapunk explained a lot of nothing. I kind of disagree because I think with Egghead, Egghead really hit its stride after we cut away from the island the first time, and then we cut around to the rest of the outside world and got a lot of really exciting events and setup, and then we cut back to the Straw Hats, and then everyone really loved that following section when we first start dealing with the Buster Call. Then people loved Kuma's flashback. People loved the beginning of the climax in the final battle. That was really exciting. Luffy taking on Gorosei, Saturn, and Kizaru at the same time. Kuma's return, all of that. And then the whole Gorosei gang arriving all at once. Everybody really liked that stuff. Vegapunk's speech was where it really slowed down. And then on top of the speech, oh shit. 1 second. Sorry, yeah. Vegapunk's speech was where it really slowed down, and then I think not everybody loved the climax that we got. But I do think that the first part of Egghead, it was well paced until we hit the who's the traitor aspect. That stretch of chapters, I can't even begin to, like, as a content creator, how do I say this? That stretch of chapters in Egghead where it was like, who's the killer, who's the whatever, like they all split up to Scooby-Doo around the facility. That stretch of chapters was the lowest One Piece viewership has been in my entire time of covering One Piece. Like, that was a section of the arc that really almost did not need to exist. It felt as though Oda had a plot point that he thought was interesting, which was that York is actually a traitor, which is an interesting-ish plot point, but Oda then decided to make a segment of the story focused just on that, which maybe wasn't the most exciting thing in the world for a lot of readers. I think a lot of people in hindsight might be saying, no, it was well-paced all the way. I know from viewership numbers, engagement, etc., exactly where reader interest hard dips in One Piece. I could tell you without a shadow of a doubt, Egghead was not well paced early on in the story. That's just, at least, like, if you guys want to say it was well paced, well, you guys didn't seem to think that when it was happening, because you guys were not interested in anything related to One Piece content during that period of time. That's just it. Like, that's something that's reflected in just you just see it in numbers. You just see it in numbers, and it's not just my channel, because I take a look over at other people's channels too, just to see, like, okay, if there's a bit of a downturn in viewership, is that because it's my videos, or is it a general One Piece community thing? There's also One Piece YouTuber group chats and stuff like that. Like, we are generally aware when, and we talk to each other when viewership generally goes down or it goes in waves or whatever. It's not like, that's why I think sometimes I get a little bit frustrated when people are like, no, that part of the arc, that was really exciting. Or like, who the fuck was bored during that part of the arc? It's like, you guys were. A lot of you were. It's true. It's true. Like, I have the numbers to reflect it, and it's not just my numbers, it's general One Piece engagement numbers. It's just the way it is. Anyway, continuing on. I think Egghead was not the best paced early on in the story. I think Elbaf has been very well paced. Like, at the end of the day, there's going to be a series of chapters that are not like the most exciting, because you are just getting to know characters, getting to know the context, etc. But I think the way Elbaf has moved through all of that has been has been as well as you could do it, if that makes sense. Like, you're not going to have some crazy hype twist or crazy hype lore reveal every chapter, but we do have to get to know the people of the school. We do have to get to know the kids. We have to understand the character dynamics. We have to understand the culture of the island or whatever. And we're getting things sprinkled in here and there, like Scopper Gaban being introduced and that interaction. That's cool. That's exciting, right? The mural being dropped on us. That's really, really fucking exciting, right? Like, Oda can't make every chapter in this intro establishing phase of getting the culture of the island established, getting the setting established, getting the characters established. He can't make every chapter something crazy. But I feel like the way it's progressed through Elbaf has been very, very effective, in my opinion, for what he needs to do. Legoland, the jury's still out. I don't know if there will ever be a point where I'm like, man, that Legoland section was just really good. Because the thing I liked about the Legoland section was that it covered the East Blue Straw Hats, right? Like, and then Chopper later on. I liked reuniting that group. But I think it would have been nice to reunite them in a more interesting context. Not against some crazy important villain or something like that. But in some context that's maybe just a little bit more... like, especially once you know the truth about Legoland, you're like, this is one of the most bullshit trap setups for the... like, bullshit little side stories for the Straw Hats ever. This is literally like the Legoland setup of like a giant has captured us. It's fucking Roto, right? Which means that it's a giant that captured them who is literally probably like a pre-time skip level threat. Literally, like Roto's not some great warrior, it seems like. So it's literally just a giant and his pet cat and like rabbit and shit that captured the Straw Hats. And it's like, this dude, they could have probably beaten him back in fucking, like, Little Garden or something like that. Like, it's just such a... They could beat this cat. Luffy, in Chapter 1, he punched out a Sea King, right? So the cat, the rabbit, that bullshit, those are things that are not just pre-time skip level threats. They are... East Blue level threats, Romance Dawn level threats, basically. So like something more interesting could have been a little bit more fun for the start of Elbaf, in my opinion. But it is what it is. Tapture Treviso says Legoland needs to be a payoff in parallel or else it's useless. Yeah, I don't know. Eric Reed says the first batch of Elbaf chapters sucked ass. Yeah, I think it's better in the long run for the first few chapters to be, if the arc's gonna be really slow-paced or uninteresting for a segment, I think the first few chapters being like that is the best place that it could be weak. I think I'm okay, like, because that's a section that's just at the very beginning that I just treat as like a little prologue, and then once you get past, you get to the real stuff. I think arcs that have the sections that drag once they're like 20 chapters or 30 chapters into the arc, those frustrate me a little bit more personally. Sorry, I might be behind on a couple supers. Let me double check. Declan Murphy, thanks for the 2. Could Scopper have the third road poneglyph? So I think Oda's been teasing us a lot with the man marked by flame stuff. I think he's very aware that that's a clue that we can latch onto that we're going to keep speculating about. So for example, he told us about the man marked by flames, and then we found out, you remember in Egghead, we found out about Saul, right? We found out about Saul still being alive, and we found out that he'd been burned by flames, and we found out that he'd been doing poneglyph research. After that chapter, it became very popular to say that Saul could be the man marked by flames. That became a very popular theory. However, a little bit later, it was established in the... like, Oda did that very intentionally. He gave us all the clues that we would need to feel like, oh shit, we just found the man marked by flames. Then, a little bit later, it was established that... And Saul was waiting for us in Elbaf. So, like, again, that's another piece that was just like, we're going to get to Elbaf, meet Saul, man marked by flames, check that off. Then, Oda revealed with the Blackbeard Pirates conversation that no, the man marked by flames travels around on a black ship and can create whirlpools. That's not Saul. So that nixed that theory. I feel like Another popular theory that began to develop in that period of time was that the man marked by flames, because we started seeing little silhouettes of Scopper Gaban, and like little shots of him waiting for the Strats at Elbaf. So that readers kind of latched onto that. It's like, we don't know who this guy is, but he could be the man marked by flames because it's a mysterious figure waiting at Elbaf, right? And then we get to meet him, and it's fucking Scopper Gaban, and he has burn marks. So now people are like, shit, this dude could be the man marked by flames. That's also possible. However, I feel like this could be another intentional sort of misdirection, red herring by Oda, much like he did with Saul. Because in Scopper Gaban's case, there's still a couple things that don't match. It sounds to me like Scopper Gaban mostly stays at Elbaf. So does he really travel around the seas on a black ship? It also says he can create whirlpools. Scopper does have some wind-based cutting abilities, but I don't know if he creates whirlpools. Can he create a whirlpool with his ability? Zoro can create whirlwinds with like little tornadoes with his sword abilities, but does Scopper do that? I don't know. I feel like it might be another misdirection. One thing that was mentioned by a viewer recently that I think was... Fuck, I wish I'd written down who said this. I thought this was a brilliant comment. It would be insanely cool if the ship that the children of Elbaf are being walked to is revealed to be a black ship. That would be a really, really cool reveal. I've said before, I believe the God's Knights have the final road poneglyph. If the kids are being walked, because the God's Knights are all here, but it's been established they need to get the kids to a ship. What ship are they getting them to? Is it a ship that another God's Knight often travels around on? That would be really cool. If it's a ship that another God's, like, if they're being transported to a God's Knight's ship, what's the ship? Could it be that mysterious black ship that's been built up for the man marked by flames? It would allow that final piece of, the road poneglyph to be connected right here. And put it in play for the Elbaf arc. I like the idea of the Strats earning each poneglyph by overcoming some adversity, right? So Zoe was the only one where it was kind of handed to them. But in Whole Cake Island, they had to overcome the adversity of like breaking in and out of Big Mom's empire, so they earned a road poneglyph. Then in Wano, they had to overcome the adversity of defeating the Beast Pirates, so they earned a road poneglyph. I like the idea of them having to earn the fourth road poneglyph here in Elbaf by defeating the God's Knights. JP, thanks for the 5. Actually, Minister of Left and Right are references to actual government positions in Japan history. That's totally fine, man. But like, by that logic, you could have the entire fucking Japanese cabinet or whatever in Fishman Island. I know you're joking, but like, that's just what like. That is legitimate arguments that people will make. It's like, well, actually, the fucking United States Congress is made of like fucking 150 senators or some shit like that. So, of course, Oda's going to add in 150 senators into the government of Wano or something that we need to each learn about. It's like, that's not relevant for storytelling. So, all right. Let me see here real quick. Kosh Panda says he was drinking with Crocus. Oh, he did leave for that. That's true. He did leave for that. But is Scopper usually out and about, or is he mainly at Elbaf? I don't know. We'll wait and see. Stealth Black Sakyo says Gunkko could make whirlpools. That's a really good point. But she's not the man marked by flames, but maybe she's somebody that is on that ship? Scopper handing them the fourth road poneglyph could make sense also if he feels like they're ready by the end of Elbaf. So it's like he kind of needs to see them in action before he's like, you're worthy of getting this. So that we could still earn it like that. I still just like the idea of the God's Knights having it, because it was hinted in the Blackbeard Pirates conversation that it is a government man who would have the road poneglyph, which seems like a really weird thing to say if that is just a meaningless suggestion. And then the ship that the God's Knights are going to have is still a mystery, so I'm curious to see what that's going to be. Red Agrid says there are more characters that can be introduced in Elbaf. One of them can be the man marked by flames. I definitely agree, but my one thought with that is like when certain characters connect to pieces that are already kind of missing pieces, if that makes sense. Like you would have to invent a whole new character to be the man marked by flames, unless it's like some former Rocks Pirate member like Wang Ji or something like that. That could be cool. All right, everybody. I'm seeing if there's any final closing points of discussion about this chapter. If you've got any final points of discussion, we can talk about that. Beyond that, do people want to discuss the NBA playoff predictions a little bit? If it's an overwhelming no, and you guys still want to keep talking about the chapter, we can stick to the chapter. But I do want to do a little bit of a baby stream at some point talking about some NBA playoff predictions. Like a little baby prediction. Little baby stream. Because the playoffs start tomorrow. So it's like you want to get in your predictions before then. Is it time? Have we no more meat on the bone in terms of the chapter? People have gotten the thoughts that they want to talk about. I think we talked about a lot of interesting ideas from this chapter. I think the most interesting is the Gunkko discussions about how she could potentially be related to Im. All right, we might be getting into some NBA talk here. It might be time. Let me see. I'll even change the... Here, let me change the thumbnail for you guys. Hold on. I'll change the thumbnail to be consistent so that people aren't like... Morge, this isn't chapter discussion. We can obviously still talk about the chapter, but for about 30 minutes, I was going to do an hour, but we have to leave at some point for a thing. So I think I can squeeze in 30 minutes. And then I think as the NBA playoffs go, I may schedule additional streams that are not Monday or Friday just to talk NBA. And then that way we can talk about it a little bit without it interfering with our usually scheduled content. Dom, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 31 months, man. When does Kid come back into the story? And what do you see him doing this arc, if anything? I fucking forgot about Kid. I fucking forgot about that dude. I'm going to do a poll real quick. Do you think he's just gone? Do you think he's gone? Because now I'm really beginning to doubt. Is Kid actually done for in the story? Yes. No, he will be in Elbaf. Because I do believe that an upcoming idea for the arc is the citizens of the island having to become stronger. Like, I think that's something that is coming up. I think that the Giants of Elbaf are going to have to regain some of their warriors' strength and, like, retrain themselves back into that mold. I think the Straughts are going to have to improve. I think that's a perfect opportunity for Kid to have to get back up and, like, get an actual, like, final war shape, you know? The thing about Kid is that as much as we shit talk him, the reality is I think a lot of people say right now Kid is at least first mate level, maybe a little bit above that or whatever, right? That's where most people have Kid. Kid is one power-up away from being, like, top tier-ish. Because Advanced Conqueror's Haki is really the only thing he needs to jump from that level to into the top tiers. Because if you think about it, Luffy was, I think most people would say, like, heading into the Kaido fight on the rooftop, Luffy was, like, he wasn't Admiral level or anything, but, like, he was at least first mate level, if not a bit stronger, right? I think a lot of people would say that Kid is in that territory, right? And then Luffy got his power up, which was Advanced Conqueror's Haki, and then all of a sudden, he's able to actually box with Kaido. He's, like, able to fight with Kaido for, like, 20 chapters straight, just fist to fist. Obviously, Kaido's still stronger than him overall, but, like, it put Luffy into that ballpark. It put him into that tier. So as much as we shit on Kid is genuinely only one Haki Bloom away from being in the league of the big dogs. So, like, he's basically right there. He just needs that big boost of the Conqueror's Haki Awakening. That's it. Yeah. Akash Panda, thanks for the 5, man. Gunkko makes it seem that the world was always destined to end even before the world government got the Mother Flame. Some other unknown threat? A threat from the first world? That's an interesting point. I don't know if that's... I feel like that's coming more so from Imu's mouth than anything else. So I don't know. Because, like, if that's... Because the thing that she's implying changed was that Vegapunk alerted the world to what the world government is trying to do. So if it was some other sort of, like, just pure supernatural destiny-based threat, then that shouldn't change anything, right? But what Vegapunk has done is essentially turned people against the world government potentially, or at least gotten the ball rolling for people to potentially turn against the world government, which means that a war will come. So to me, it is Gunkko basically implying that, like, the plan was one day Imu, maybe if, like, Vegapunk gave him enough Mother Flames or whatever, was just gonna evaporate the world, and no one would be any more no one would know any better. No one would really be ready for it, right? Imu would just use Uranus 50 times, call it a day. Really just 5 times. The world's flooded, call it a day, right? But now people are on the alert. Now people have been put on the alert. So now things are changing, and now there's going to be a war. So to me, it is more so tied to, like, this is a world government related, like, it's a celestial dragon related point of view that she's expressing. Like, from our point of view, from Imu's point of view, this is what was supposed to happen. Like, God was just supposed to erase the world one day, but now you guys created trouble, so now there's going to be a fight over it. But fate's not going to change. You guys are still going to be destroyed at the end. I think that's her point of view. Marco Cadillo, thanks for the 5. Would you rather get kicked in the balls, shot by a paintball gun in the stomach, or get pepper sprayed? Also, do you think Law and Katakuri might ally versus Blackbeard? Would I rather get kicked in the balls, shot by a paintball gun in the stomach, or get pepper sprayed? I think I would get shot by a paintball gun in the stomach. However, I have never been shot by a paintball gun, so that might be a terrible choice. I don't know. I have been kicked in the balls, and I was at a college house party where the entire basement area got pepper sprayed because not campus police, like police showed up because it was a lot of underage drinking and stuff like that. So it actually wasn't the basement that got pepper sprayed. They came in we were in the basement. The basement was really crowded, dancing, music, etc. The entire atmosphere, like, people started, like, this was sophomore year, the entire atmosphere suddenly, like, shifted, and it was just like something's in the air, and your eyes are watering, and so, like, people are opening the screen door to just, like, flood out, and then people are reporting, like, the police are here, and, like, then it's spreading that we've been fucking pepper sprayed. So the police came in through the top floor, pepper sprayed some section of the house basically, and everybody downstairs just, like, bolted the fuck out. So it was just like a mass exodus out of the screen door with everybody feeling like, what the fuck just happened? Because, like, you don't know that you've, like, been pepper sprayed. You just know that something is fucking in the air that's fucking with you. So if that's what it felt like from a distance, I would never want to be pepper sprayed up close. But that was a fun night because then, like, it was kind of like, you're in college, so it's like, it feels kind of cool to be like, oh shit, we just had to run away from the police because, like, everybody basically dispersed out of the bottom floor of this party, and then everybody's, like, running out through the neighborhood or whatever, and just, like, composing yourself, and you're wiping your face and stuff. But yeah, I don't want to be pepper sprayed up close ever. Don't want to be kicked in the balls because I've never been kicked in the balls, but everybody's been hit in the balls or made contact in some way, so getting kicked would be very painful. So I'll take a paintball gun, but I think that's just because I don't know any better. Law and Katakuri might ally versus Blackbeard. I don't think so. I think Law might ally with Kid. I think Law's coming to Elbaf next during this downtime period, and I think we could see a Law and Kid reunion, like, continuing on that alliance from the Big Mom scenario. What's interesting, though, is that Yamato seems to be building a faction of her own with ulti and shit like that. So maybe we see Katakuri leading the Big Mom Pirates and Yamato leading some of the remnants of the Beast Pirates. That'd be kind of cool. JWP, thanks for the 5. Law will definitely still be in the story, so it would just be super weird if Kid was just dead, lol. I mean, you could argue that, like, maybe Oda axed Kid's storyline because he liked Law better, or maybe Kid's supposed to represent something, whereas Law is supposed to just keep going on or something like that. I still think if Kid is truly gone from the story, it would just be a really lazily thought out character. So I do think the fact that Law is going to continue, to me, suggests Kid will continue as well. I think Oda will probably stick to his original plan of Kid being more important. JP, thanks for the 5. God's Knights, Strahd's Fights, Gunko's Tights, Lakers at 5. So I am not of the opinion that Lakers will just win everything in 5. I definitely don't think that's the case. I think it'll be very hard fought for the Lakers to win this championship. I think whoever wins this championship, it will be... I think if anyone wins this championship from the West, it will be one of the most impressive championship runs ever. Because I think every single team in the West is either is a championship caliber team, or there's so many teams in the West that I'm like, yeah, looking at this team objectively in many years, it would be good enough to contend for a championship. So almost every team in the West is a championship caliber team, or they're a very, very good team at the very least, like the Rockets or even the Grizzlies. So it's kind of just, I don't know. This is something I've never seen before. I don't think I've ever seen the West this competitive. If the Celtics win it, I think it's not quite as impressive because they probably just have to beat Cleveland and then one team from the West. But even then, that's having to beat 2 championship caliber teams. NBA playoffs preview. Marco Cadillo, thanks for the 2. Morge live NBA playoffs reaction stream when? I don't know if I'm ever going to do that because I like enjoying the NBA playoffs just in my own comfort zone rather than watching it with chat and having to react or give commentary. But maybe I'll do it for a game that maybe I don't care as much about. Let me kind of quickly pull up a little... Can I make a little bracket? NBA playoff bracket maker. Let me see if there's a little bracket I can make. Yeah. I can. Let me cast this real quick. So not gonna get too much time to discuss it here. Not gonna get too much time to discuss it. But we can get in 20-ish minutes. Ender Ainami says, I'd kill for a legendary Jokic carry run. Any team that, it would be so impressive. Even the Thunder, who I fucking don't like at all. If the Thunder won this, that would be so impressive. A young team being able to beat, they would have to go through several really experienced teams. You can't win this This is insane. You're not going to be able to win this playoffs without beating several, former champions. Several former champions. You have to beat a lot of the best players of the last 10 years to win this championship. Unless you're in the West, or unless you're in the East, because Celtics or Cavs, they only have to beat one team from the West. Just the West. If a team from the West wins it, it would just be it would be probably the most impressive overall championship run a team has ever had to get through, I think. Unless there's injuries or something. So, if I'm doing picks real quick, I think Thunder's an easy pick here. Do I do this? I have to pick number of games. I think picking number of games is dumb. It just doesn't... I don't like picking number of games. I think that there's so many things that can skew a series from 5 games to 7 games even. It just doesn't... I don't know. Fine. Thunder to win in, 4 games. Nuggets, Clippers. Okay. I'm going to do this in 2 ways. Okay? Let me do this in 2 ways. Here. So if I do this, does it just reset? Okay, maybe I'll do another version of this in incognito mode. Because I want to show you... I'm going to show you guys really quick what I think will happen if I go purely with my head, what I think will happen, and then I want to show you guys what I believe in my heart will happen, okay? So it's 2 different playoff runs. What I think in my head will happen is I think the Clippers will get through here in 6. I think the Lakers will take out the Timberwolves in 6. I think the Warriors will take out the Rockets in 6. I'm sorry, I don't like picking number of games, so sorry if I'm being very generic, just picking in 6 over and over. Okay? I believe Cavs will win in... actually, Cavs might have a tricky first-round matchup. I don't care. I'm just... Don't put too much stock into the number of games I'm saying. I'm just going to pick the Cavs to move on. Pacers Bucks. Pacers Bucks is tricky because it depends on Dame, but the Bucks have also been playing almost better without Dame. I don't want the Thunder to win it all either. I think the Bucks could take it. Giannis has been playing really fucking good. I haven't watched many Bucks games, but I know they've been on a tear. I think Giannis could take it. I think Giannis could take the Bucks. Let's say in 7. Knicks Pistons. The Knicks should win, but I know the Pistons have been really... Okay, we're going with just what I... We're just going just with what I think, right, logically. So I'm going to say the Knicks. Nothing crazy in the first round, right? Celtics in 5. I think the Magic, with their defense or whatever, could give some trouble or whatever. But here we go. Now is where it gets trickier. Thunder Clippers, I'm still going to take the Thunder, but I think it'll be hard. Lakers, Warriors. Lakers are the better team, but from what I've been watching in terms of analysis quite a bit, the Warriors, I think like the Warriors might be a poor matchup for the Lakers. And on top of that, the Warriors are more in sync. Like, the Lakers, we have to remember, are a very new system that they're working with right here. With LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves. The Warriors are a very established system that just added Jimmy Butler. And you might say that, like, well, the Lakers just added Luka, but that's not the case. They also lost Anthony Davis, so they have to change a lot of who they are. And adding Luka is very different than adding Jimmy Butler, because adding Luka is basically committing to a Luka-run team, whereas adding Jimmy Butler is basically adding a player that helps just shore some of the gaps that the Warriors already had. I believe the Lakers will beat the Warriors, but I think it'll be really fucking tight. Like, if I had to bet money, I think the Lakers will beat the Warriors. Cavs, Bucks, I think the Cavs will win, but I think it'll be tight, especially if Dame is back. This is fucking easy for the Celtics. Maybe the Knicks will steal a game. Thomas Davis, thanks for bringing a Yonko tier member for 23 months, man. Pacers and Bucks are my second favorite teams after the Sixers. This is the second year in a row that they're playing in the first round. It sucks. Yeah, man, I was rooting hard for the Clippers to beat the Warriors in the play-in, because if the Warriors won, I think they played the Lakers in the first round, and I did not want to see the Lakers and the Warriors have to face off in the first round. Yeah. I also didn't want the Lakers and the Nuggets to have to face off in the first round. So I'm actually happy with how things worked out in the play-in. It really sucks when you're rooting for both teams. Like, it's just hard to enjoy that matchup. It's just really hard to enjoy. I don't like watching those games ever. Thunder, Lakers. Here's the thing. I believe that the Thunder are the most likely team in the West to make it to the finals, because I believe that there are more opportunities for the Lakers to potentially lose leading up to the conference finals. Does that make sense? But if we get all the way to the Thunder playing against the Lakers in the conference finals. So if the Lakers can get through their matchups up to the Thunder, I think the Lakers can take it over the Thunder. Celtics, Cavs, I'll take the Celtics. I think it'll be hard fought. I think the Cavs just might not be quite ready experience-wise. And then Lakers, Celtics, this is just me going with what my brain tells me. I think the Celtics will take it. I watched the Lakers play the Celtics, and what I remember is that the Celtics really had a big advantage, but there was a point late in the game where Luka started playing really, really well, and he started playing like himself. And then after that, the Lakers went on a run where they brought it to a very tight game, and they nearly took the game from the Celtics. But then LeBron got injured, if I recall, and he was taken out of the game, so we never quite got to see how that played out. However, the tricky thing with the Lakers-Celtics is that the Celtics just have too many strengths and almost no weaknesses, whereas the Lakers do have weaknesses. And we got to see a preview of Luka versus the Celtics last year. I think Luka's maybe not as good as he was last year, just because recovering from injury or whatever. And the tricky thing about that all was that Jaylen Brown can actually make things somewhat difficult for Luka on defense. He can't shut him down. Like, Luka can still get his numbers. But, like, the whole Lakers system is built on the idea that Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves are, like, the three best shot creators in the NBA. Like, as a trio, right? It's the best three shot creators you can get in the NBA. The Celtics have the personnel to slow each of them down. I would not be surprised if Austin Reeves is not effective in the Celtics matchup. Like, they have the defenders for like fucking Derek White. Like, you can put there are many people that Austin Reeves is gonna have trouble switching on. Like, I fucking remember Kyrie had so much trouble against the Celtics in the finals. Like, fucking Kyrie Irving had a lot of trouble against the Celtics in the finals because he could not find good players to switch against. There were no easy targets, and Kyrie himself talked about that in an interview. I remember just being like, yeah, like, fucking across the board, there's not really a player that he can just dice up with his handles, right? Austin Reeves is not going to be that effective against the Celtics, I don't feel. Then you get down to, okay, can Luka and LeBron really hero mode? I think they can. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I think it would ultimately be on Luka's performance even more than LeBron's, because I believe LeBron is going to be able to hit the level he can hit because he's LeBron. But it's no longer a level where he can just play lights out 6-7 games in a row. Luka needs to play lights out at least 4 games in the series, and even then it would be close. Because Luka ultimately is going to be their number one option. I know Jaylen Brown can slow Luka down. Jason Tatum is not going to do a bad job on LeBron. The Celtics just have too many good defenders to really be able to slow down what Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves are going to need to rely on. So I feel like that's the case. That being said, that's just my brain. Let me show you what I believe my heart tells me will happen. All right, let me show you what I believe in my heart of hearts what will happen. Okay? Here's what I believe in my heart of hearts. So we're going to do this again. Marco Cadillo, thanks for the 2. Who's the most underrated Lakers player ever? I don't think I'm enough of a basketball historian to truly be able to say who that would be. The most underrated Lakers player ever? From what I know, right? Like what I just have learned through being an NBA fan over time, maybe Paul Gasol. Maybe Paul Gasol because he was just the right thing that Kobe needed to, like, from my understanding, Paul Gasol was like a very, very good player. It's just that his time being a very, very good, like, that level of player wasn't that long. Therefore, he doesn't really go down as like a top 75 player or something like that in the NBA. But for his time that he was in his prime, it sounds like he was like a really, really great player. Does that make sense? Who's more just team or favorite player? I'm a LeBron fan, and probably my favorite player in the upcoming generation is Luka. I'm a big Wemby fan as well, but Wembanyama's not playing right now. But Luka's my favorite of the newer generation. So here's what I believe in my heart of hearts. Thunder, just game count doesn't matter, all right? We're just going to say 4 games each time. The game count doesn't matter. Ignore the game count, all right? Thunder, make it through here. I believe in my heart that Jokic will find a way to pull them past. I believe in my heart that Jokic will find a way to pull them past. I think he can find a way to pull them past the Clippers. The Clippers are playing really fucking scary right now. I watched them play the Warriors. The Warriors did not play a bad game through fourth quarter overtime. Steph was really bad the first 3 quarters, but he pulled it together in the final parts of the game. The Clippers just continued to execute. They are a really good team. The Nuggets are a messed up team right now, but I believe Jokic can find a way. I believe he can find a way. And I've watched several analyses from like people that I trust who get really into the X's and O's. Any way you look at it, this is Nuggets Clippers is a bad matchup for the Nuggets. I still believe that it can be done. All right? Lakers, Timberwolves, Lakers take it. All right? Just don't care about the game count. That's not the point. Warriors, I believe, will take it over the Rockets. Cavs will take it over whoever. I believe the Pacers can take it over the Bucks. I might be wrong about that. I believe the Pistons can take it over the Knicks. I believe the Celtics will take it over, obviously, whoever the fuck they're facing there in the East. I believe, this is the hot pick, I believe the Nuggets can take it over the Thunder. Because I believe that a lot of it will come down to the Jokic matchup. I think that he will be able to operate at peak capacity versus the Thunder. Because to my knowledge, Jokic eats up Chet Holmgren. To my knowledge, I think that can be enough of a swing factor that it will give the rest of the team. Like, I think he will be able to play at peak capacity against the Thunder. I think that is doable. So that's an insane take. I think no one agrees with that, but I believe it's doable. I believe it's doable because I believe playing against the Thunder gives Jokic the opportunity to play at his best. And I think once he's humming at his best, the entire team can flow. Lakers, Warriors, I still believe the Lakers will find a way. I think Cavs take it over Pacers. Celtics will take it over the Pistons, but I think the Pistons could actually make it tricky on them. I believe the Lakers will take it over the Nuggets. I believe the Celtics will take... Man, I would fucking love if the Cavs could somehow take it over the Celtics, but I don't believe that they'll do it. And then I believe in my heart that the Lakers will take it over the Celtics. There we go. So we got 2 brackets. We got the head and the heart bracket. Andrew Anami says Jokic is going to will them past the Clippers. So interestingly, from a lot of the analysis I was seeing, it will be very, 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 very difficult for Jokic to will them past the Clippers. Because Zubac is one of the best defenders of Jokic post-ups. And a lot of how effective Jokic is able to be comes down to how well he can demand attention in the post, how much of a baseline scoring level he can provide his team with just being able to dominate in the post, how much help he can force to be drawn in the post. He won't have that much from what I've seen. He's not going to have that advantage as much. He just won't. So the Nuggets over the Clippers is really sort of a Hail Mary pick. One of the things that people forget is that Jamal Murray was able to be very, very effective against the Clippers in the 2020 series. And that was when, there were many clips of Jamal Murray just cooking Kawhi. And that was when Kawhi was at the peak of his powers. That was when Kawhi was in contention for the best player in the world. Obviously, this Clippers team is very different than then. But I do believe there is something to player confidence. The Nuggets versus Clippers series back then, for those of you who don't recall, was sort of the breakout series for the Nuggets. That was when they went from just being a team in the West or whatever to oh shit, they somehow made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. They came back from 3-1 2 rounds in a row, and they somehow beat the Clippers from down 3-1. when the Clippers were generally considered to be the favorites heading into the championship from the start of that year. Like, people were saying the Clippers had a super team that year. That was the strongest iteration of the Clippers in like so fucking long, right? That the Clippers were considered a super team and heavy favorites that year. The Nuggets, Jokic and Murray just picked them apart from down 3-1. And the Clippers blew double digits leads every single one of those final 3 games. So a lot of people forget that. There is something to player confidence. I would not be surprised if Jamal Murray plays confidently in that series. And I think that could be a big difference maker because Jokic is going to get his numbers. If Jamal Murray can get his numbers as well, that is going to be a huge swing factor. I'm not saying it's a logical pick. I already picked the Clippers as the logical pick, but it is what it is. The rest I feel relatively confident in. I think Pacers-Bucks goes really either way. I kind of pick my heart with the Pacers just because I would like to see them overcome the Bucks because I don't really want Giannis to progress. But I'm just not a big Giannis fan. I don't know. Thomas Davis says, bro, Doc Rivers was still coaching them, LMAO. Yeah, I agree. But at the same time, I don't think Mike Malone is a good coach either. I think the Nuggets are legitimately better off now that they have gotten rid of Mike Malone. Fucking Jokic was drawing up plays for them. I think they are better off without Mike Malone, and I think they're better off with Jokic taking the wheel to some degree. So I don't think the coaching improvement has just been one-sided. I've never thought Mike Malone was that good of a coach. I don't think he was ever really the reason the Nuggets reached the heights that they did. Cavs taking out Celtics in 7 would be epic. Yes. But even with my heart picking, I still think the Celtics will take it over the Cavs. I don't think I personally think if you're a young team, not a young team, I think if you're a team like the Cavs that's like just now finally really putting things together and have made like a really great dominant regular season run, I think for you to be the team that overcomes like a team as stacked as the Celtics and like the defending champions, I do think that you need to have a generational superstar on your team to do that, to make that final breakthrough of doing it in the conference finals and the playoffs. The Cavs don't have that. They have Donovan Mitchell, which is not quite what you need in my opinion. I think the Cavs are set up. I would love to be proven wrong. I would love for my favorite team from the Western Conference, be that the Lakers, Nuggets, Warriors, whoever, to be facing the Cavs instead of the Celtics. But I don't think the Cavs are going to be able to translate that regular season success against the Celtics when the chips are really down in the playoffs in the conference finals. That's my feeling. I personally feel like these things happen in steps. So I feel like you need to take certain steps. Like, I don't think like the same way the Celtics, they had a couple runs at the conference finals and then the finals before then finally they were able to win the whole thing. I think it's too early for the Cavs. I also think it might be too early for the Thunder because so far they've only really won, they only got to the second round, right? Like when the Nuggets won in 2023, they'd already made it to the conference finals before and they likely would have been able to do it at least one of the following years, but their whole team just got injured. The moment they got their full team back, they got to the finals and won it, right? Celtics, it took them a few runs at the finals before they were able to, a few runs at the conference finals and the finals before they were able to really close it, right? The Warriors likely would have lost in 2015, I think most people agree, on their first run of the finals, but they got a lucky break because Kyrie and Kevin Love were injured, right? So I think the Warriors were also not prepared in 2015. I think they would have needed another attempt or so to really get to their best version of themselves, right? Yeah, just in general, like the fucking Raptors, right? The Raptors had been good for some time. Like they'd been making runs for some time, but they weren't ready to get to the finals or whatever. But then they got Kawhi, and then that was basically the piece that pushed them over the edge. Plus, they got lucky that the Warriors were heavily injured in the finals, right? So even with the Raptors, it's a similar situation to the Warriors in 2015. They benefited from injury luck, right? I think generally most teams just need to do it in steps. It's rare that like at their first big run at being dominant in the regular season, they can just get there and win in the finals. I think that is very rare. Like just historically, if you look through the NBA, that doesn't happen that often. So for the Cavs to be able to do it here, maybe they get past the Celtics and get to the finals. I don't think they could win the whole thing though. Yeah. Celtics just hack the system, shoot as many threes as possible, auto win. Lakers versus Cavs, with Lakers winning in Cleveland would be cinema. Dude, if LeBron fucking lost to the Cavs, that would be fucking embarrassing though. All right. Yeah, Raptors only got through after LeBron left the East. Yeah, that's also a big factor. Just in general, like you could say the Lakers in 2020 won in their first big run at it, but that's also not really true because like it is true, but it's the LeBron factor in that like you're translating LeBron's experience and all of that leadership, etc., over to the like he already knows how to win. Therefore, the Lakers were able to do it in their first time around. But like, yeah, same thing. Like Giannis and the Bucks, they had to get to the conference finals before then 2021 they were able to make it to the actual finals and win. And even with Giannis and the Bucks, they also got really, really lucky with injuries. So in general, trend is I think teams need to have at least made it to the conference finals before they're able to then get to the finals and win it. And in some rare exceptions, it's often due to like extremely lucky breaks, like a heavy favorite getting injured or something like that. So this is what I hope happens. This is what my heart kind of is telling me, like in best case scenario happens. This is my heart pick. I think the head pick is just me being very cold, clinical, like almost maybe more pessimistic. I think the actual answer will be somewhere in the middle. If I had to put money down right now, I think the Celtics win the whole thing. If I had to say odds-wise, what I think right now, this is just a wrap stream right here. I think odds-wise, I think the most likely to win the whole thing is the Celtics. I think second most likely is not the Thunder. I think it's actually the Lakers. Because I think the Thunder might be more likely to make it to the finals than any other team in the West, if that makes sense. But I don't think the Thunder are just going to be able to win the finals on their first try. There is a lot of pressure and experience that's needed at that stage. Lots of players have talked about that, how like when you get to the finals for the first time, it doesn't feel like other playoff rounds. You suddenly feel so much more media pressure. You second guess yourself a lot, stuff like that. I think the Thunder might be more likely. Let me put it this way. I think the Cavs could be more likely to make it to the finals than the Lakers. I think the Thunder could be more likely to make it to the finals than the Lakers. However, I don't think the Cavs or the Thunder are likely to actually win the whole thing because I think that if they make it to the finals, they will not perform to the standard that they've been playing up till that point, both of those teams. So I lower them in my contender rankings in terms of how likely I think they are to win. Like if I were to say just what I think likelihood of winning a championship is right now, I would say just quick ranking. Here we go. I think likelihood is Celtics. I think Lakers, just because the LeBron experience plus the Luka stuff, like it's the upside is very high. I think then maybe Thunder, then maybe Warriors. I put in Clippers here because I genuinely think that Clippers, there's just like Clippers on paper should be even higher, I think, than the Warriors. Like we just saw the play-in game, but the reality is that the Clippers there's something that just always seems to go wrong. I'm not superstitious, but like with the Clippers, it's just I've seen this same story a million times. So at a certain point, you just stop believing because there's just something off about it. Like they were supposed to win in 2020, like overwhelming favorites. Since then, they got embarrassed. And then every single fucking year since then, you hear the same story. It's like, oh, the Clippers, they're actually putting it together. Like this year they fixed it. They're a real threat. And then nothing fucking happens. This year, they're really making me fucking believe. Like they look scary, but you just see the same thing over and over. I'm just like, at what point do I just like view it as strictly logical to accept that there's something always going to be wrong that happens with the Clippers? So I'm saying that now. I say Nuggets next because I don't believe the Cavs can win. It would be, maybe I get totally proven wrong, but I think that the Cavs do not have the experience to win in the finals. I think it's more likely the Cavs make the finals than the Nuggets, but I think it's very, like, I think if the Cavs make the finals, I give them a very low chance to actually win the whole thing just because of lack of experience at that stage. And like getting that far in the playoffs. I don't think it is easy to do that the first time around, especially when you are lacking a sort of like superstar generational player. So if that makes sense, like I would bet on the Cavs to get further than the Nuggets in the playoffs overall. But in terms of like chances of winning the finals, I think the Cavs have a very low chance of like actually getting to the finals and winning the whole thing. Whereas I could see a world where like the Nuggets like win several 40-60 matchups, get to the finals, and win like a 30-70 matchup to win the whole thing. Whereas the Cavs are just like, even if they make it all. No, honestly, I'm going to be straight up. I think the Bucks, if Dame gets his shit right, because they've been fucking dangerous, I think the Bucks could actually make it. Like, I think that's more likely than the fucking Cavs winning. That might be a really crazy take, but I'm just saying, looking at NBA history, I think it is very unlikely that a team like the Cavs gets it done this early in time. I think next year, once they've got the experience under their belt, then I'll be more like, yeah, Cavs might be second or first favorite. So that's my take. I think these are my 8 favorites. I'd fucking put... I have half a mind to put the Timberwolves, but I don't think so, above the Cavs. That's what I got right now. That's my ranking. I think I get why the Cavs should be higher. I think the Cavs are likelier to make it far in the playoffs than most of these teams. Like, I think the Cavs and Celtics are the only 2 teams that are locked for the conference finals. Like, a lock. I could see the Thunder losing earlier. I could see the Lakers losing earlier. Warriors, Clippers, Nuggets, Bucks, all of them losing earlier. I think Celtics and Cavs are a lock for the conference finals. And I think the Cavs could even beat the Celtics in the conference finals. I'm just saying, if you don't have the experience getting that far, I think the Cavs will be destined, no matter what, to lose in the finals. That's my feeling. So, like, they just have a hard ceiling. Like, their floor is way higher than all of these teams. But this is not about whose floor is higher. This is like who has the championship ceiling. I think the Cavs do not have a championship ceiling. That's my feeling right now. Whereas I could see like all of these teams have proven in one way or another they have a championship ceiling, except for maybe the Thunder. But the Thunder are just so stacked that they could do it anyway, and they have a generational player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the way that the Cavs don't. So that's the X factor that's allowing me to give the Thunder a nod in a way that I'm not going to give to the Cavs. That's basically it. All right, everybody. We are going to call it here. Thank you all for tuning in. This went longer than I'd hoped. But yeah,